Chapter 151. Eldest Princess, please have some tea. Chen Ning poured a cup of fragrant tea and placed it in front of the eldest princess. The eldest princess did not even look at the cup of tea as her eyes stared right at Chen Ning's face. She went straight to the point and said, "This princess did not come here to drink tea. You sent someone to tell this princess that you have a way to help this princess get what she wants. Is that true?" It was because of these words that she came to the King Ding Yuan Palace without any hesitation. She had to see Chen Ning no matter what. But if Chen Ning dared to lie to her, did she think that the sword in her eldest princess and Li's hand was just for show? Her hand was placed on the hilt of the sword at her waist. Under her sharp brows, a flash of killing intent appeared in her eyes. Chen Ning had already seen her expression and actions. She thought that the eldest princess was exactly the same as she had imagined. "Eldest princess, please calm down and listen to me slowly. If what I say does not satisfy the eldest princess can take out the sword at your waist and cut off my head." She looked into the eldest princess' eyes and replied without blinking. From the eldest princess' appearance and the way she spoke, Chen Ning could quickly tell that she was a straightforward girl. With this kind of personality, she did not like nagging people, so she was also straightforward. As expected, these words were to the eldest princess' liking. Her sharp eyes softened a bit, and she had a solemn expression as she nodded at Chen Ning. "Sit down and talk." Chen Ning sat down for an entire 4 hours. Housekeeper Su was anxiously waiting outside, and his neck was stretched out. The longer he waited, the more restless his heart became. The eldest princess and the princess should not know each other, but the eldest princess had not shown her face for half a day. What could the two of them have to talk about? They had been talking for so long. This is bad. Housekeeper Su suddenly slapped his thigh. The princess consort wouldn't be complaining to the eldest princess, right? If she told the eldest princess everything that had happened since she entered the manor, then this matter would certainly be passed from the eldest princess's mouth to the emperor's ears. It had to be known that His Highness and the princess were engaged by the emperor. If His Highness did not like the princess, it was equal to not liking the emperor. It was equal to slapping the emperor's face. Even if His Highness was the emperor's blood-related nephew, the emperor would not easily forgive him. Housekeeper Su became more worried the more he thought about it. He stared at the flowing cloud pavilion's door and finally saw eldest princess and Li's figure walk out. His heart jumped into his throat. He thought that the eldest princess would be filled with rage and come out to find His Highness. He never thought that when his eyes fell onto the eldest princess' face, he was so shocked that his chin almost fell. Heavens, was he seeing things? He could actually see a trace of a smile on the eldest princess' cold face. Until the eldest princess left, Housekeeper Su felt like he was in a dream. Hearing Housekeeper Su's report, Chu Xiaoyang was filled with confusion. He thought that after the eldest princess came out of the flowing cloud pavilion, she would come back to compete with him. When the eldest princess left, Housekeeper Su felt like he was in a dream. Who would have thought that the eldest princess would directly return to the princess palace, not even leaving a word for him? This was simply too unbelievable. The news of Chen Ning moving into the flowing cloud pavilion quickly spread to Chun by Yun's intoxicated flower pavilion. Chapter 152. She did not care about the pain as she grabbed Lan Xiang's wrist. She gritted her teeth and said, "Is what you said true? Not only did that cheap woman not die, His Highness even allowed her to live in the flowing cloud pavilion?" Her long fingernails dug deep into Lan Xiang's skin. Lan Xiang did not dare cry out in pain as she forcefully replied, "Yes, yes. Concubine consort, this servant has heard everything." She would not dare lie to the concubine consort. But how could she not die? How could His Highness allow her to live in the flowing cloud pavilion? Chun Baiyun angrily shouted. Of course she knew what kind of place the flowing cloud pavilion was. It was a place she wanted to live even in her dreams. Although her intoxicated flower pavilion was not bad, it could not compare to the flowing cloud pavilion. Although His Highness loved her, he did not give her the flowing cloud pavilion, but he gave it to that damn cheap woman, Chun Ning. Chen Baiyun's heart was being bitten by a poisonous snake called jealousy. Her eyes seemed like they were about to burst into flames. This servant does not dare say. Lan Xiang trembled as she looked at her. She felt her wrist becoming more and more painful as Chen Baiyun's fingernails were already drawing blood. If you don't speak, I'll beat you to death. Chen Baiyun's gentle appearance in front of Chu Xiaoyang completely changed. She glared at Lan Xiang and shouted in a sharp voice. It's like this. Lan Xiang swallowed a mouthful of saliva and told Chen Baiyun everything she heard. Chen Baiyun became more and more angry the more she heard, especially when she heard that eldest princess and Lu had personally come to visit Chen Ning. She almost bit her lips in hatred. If the eldest princess supported Chen Ning in the future, how could she deal with that cheap woman in the future? Cheap woman. That damn cheap woman. How did she manage to hook up with the eldest princess? This servant does not know. Lan Xiang replied in a low voice. If you don't know anything, then what use does this concubine have for you? Chen Baiyun slapped Lan Xiang's face. She seemed to think that the Lan Xiang in front of her was Chen Ning. Slap after slap, it was very satisfying. This servant knows her wrongs. I asked the concubine consort not to be angry. Lan Xiang did not dare dodge and could only kneel on the ground to let her vent. Only when Chen Baiyun was tired did she stop while gasping for breath. She stared at Lan Xiang, who had been beaten black and blue, and coldly said, "How did your face become like this? If His Highness asks you, how will you answer?" Lan Xiang endured the pain and replied, "Yes, this servant accidentally fell. Pa!" Xiang slapped her face again. "Say it again." "Yes." Princess sent people to beat him up. Lan Xiang suddenly had a flash of inspiration and blurted out. Chen Baiyun slightly nodded and then asked, "The princess is living well in the flowing cloud pavilion. Why would she hit you for no reason?" Lan Xiang gritted her teeth and said, "This servant followed the concubine consort's orders and brought gifts to the flowing cloud pavilion to greet the princess. I never thought that not only would the princess not let this servant in, she would even send people to teach this servant a lesson. So, this servant's face became like this." Chen Baiyun finally revealed a satisfied expression. She reached out a hand to help Lan Xiang up and stroked her face as she said, "Very good. You are someone by my side. She hitting you is equal to hitting me. This concubine consort will definitely let His Highness make the decision and help you find justice." This servant thanks the concubine consort for her grace. Lan Xiang held back her tears as she replied. Chapter 153. This servant has already inquired about it. Oh, what is the reason? This servant heard from housekeeper Sue's servants. They said that the princess ate the sweet potatoes in the wooden shed and never thought that the sweet potatoes would be a good medicine. After the princess ate it twice, her illness was cured. Everyone was amazed when they mentioned this matter. Also, Lan Xiang looked at Chen Baiyun with a hesitant expression. Also, Lan Xiang looked at Chen Baiyun. Chen Baiyun's eyes revealed a jealous and hateful glow. "Speak." "I heard them say that the princess asked His Highness for the wooden shed and the yard. She said that the sweet potatoes in the yard are life-saving elixirs, and no one is allowed to touch them." Lan Xiang said, "Is that so?" When Chen Baiyun heard this, her face revealed a cold smile. "Very good. No one is allowed to touch them. This concubine wants to personally see what kind of treasure the sweet potatoes in the yard are." She did not wait a second as she brought Lan Xiang to the wooden shed. If the sweet potatoes in the yard really had the effect of reviving the dead, then she would pull them up by the roots and not leave a single one for that cheap woman Chen Ning. After Chen Ning moved into the flowing cloud pavilion, she asked Chun Tao and Xia He to come over and serve them by her side. Especially to Xia He, she gave her a few words of encouragement. When the eldest princess came to the King Ding Yuan palace this time, it was Xia He who sent the news for her. These two maids were already filled with admiration for her. After eating breakfast today, Chun Ning saw Chun Tao and Xia He winking at each other with strange smiles on their faces. Her eyes turned and she pursed her lips into a smile as she asked, "What happened now?" Xia He rushed to say, "Princess consort, When you hear this news, you will definitely feel very satisfied. What is it? Chen Ning asked. Xiaoyi laughed before saying anything. She laughed so hard that she couldn't stand up straight. Chen Ning rolled her eyes and pointed at Chun Tao as she said, "You speak." "Yes, princess consort." Chun Tao was older than Xiaoyi by a year, but she was much calmer. She also had a smile on her face that she could not hide. This servant heard a funny joke early in the morning. It said that yesterday, consort Shen Fei went to the wooden hut for some reason, and then for some reason, she fell into the manure pit. Her personal maid Lan Xiang rushed to save her, but the two of them fell in and were covered in manure. The wooden hut was far away, and the two of them had been soaking in the manure pit for several hours before they were discovered by the night watchman. I heard that the concubine consort Chun had taken 7-8 baths, but she still had the smell of manure on her body. The smell was so strong that His Highness couldn't even sit for a cup of tea before quickly leaving. "Ha ha, princess consort, isn't this funny?" The three maids all broke out in laughter. Chin Shun could not help. Her eyes sparkled as she turned the teacup in her hand. She smiled as she took a sip of tea. Xiaoyi finally stopped laughing and said, "His Highness asked the concubine consort why she went to the wooden shed for no reason. That concubine consort Chun said that she heard that the sweet potatoes in the yard could cure illnesses, so she wanted to personally dig a few for His Highness. But she never would have dreamed that other than the sweet potatoes in the yard, there would also be a large manure pit. Ha! Ha! This is called trying to steal a chicken only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. She deserves her bad luck, letting her have ideas about our princess consort things." Chapter 154. Xiaoru felt very satisfied hearing this. She clapped her hands and said with a smile, I understand. No wonder the young miss deliberately said that sweet potatoes could cure diseases in front of housekeeper Sue. So the young miss had dug this trap for the second miss to jump into. Chen Ning said with a serious expression, if she didn't have the intention to harm people, then she wouldn't have gone to the wooden hut and wouldn't have fallen into the manure pit. This is her own doing. What does it have to do with me? The three maids all smiled and nodded their heads in agreement. The weather today is not bad. Xiaoru, come out for a walk with me. Chen Ning heard the swallows chirping outside the window. She thought that she couldn't let down this beautiful spring scenery. The King Ding Yuan Palace was very large, and there were pavilions everywhere. Chen Ning stood on top of a rock in the flowing cloud pavilion and looked out. She saw a large lake not far away, and there was a row of willows on the shore that were currently sprouting tender green buds. The surface of the lake was as smooth as a mirror. When the wind blew, it caused the spring water to ripple. She couldn't help feeling interested as she brought Xiaoru over to the lake. The spring wind blew and the fragrance of flowers filled the air. Everywhere was filled with the aura of spring. Chen Ning's mood also soared. Standing under the willow tree on the shore, she looked at the sparkling lake and revealed a bright smile. The sunlight passed through the green silk and softly shone on her face, adding a layer of pale golden brilliance to her beautiful face. Xiaoru suddenly picked up a stone and with a put-on sound, she threw it into the lake, breaking the calm surface of the lake. Xiaoru, what are you doing? Chen Ning asked with a smile. When this servant remembered that the second miss had bullied you before, my heart was filled with anger. So, I treated her like a stone in the toilet and threw her into the water. Xiaoru let out a sigh and picked up a few more stones. She angrily threw them into the water. Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile. Seeing her childish actions, she said with a smile, Do you want to stink the entire lake? Xiaoru stuck out her tongue and giggled as she said, That's right, this servant forgot. The second miss had just fallen into the manure pit, and her body stinks. Chen Ning's childish heart stirred. She bent down and picked up a stone that was covered in scabs. It looked very ugly, and she asked Xiaoru, Is this stone ugly? It's very ugly. Xiaoru honestly nodded. All right. Chen Ning raised her hand and threw the stone far away into the lake. With a dong sound, it sank into the lake. All right. Chen Ning raised her hand and threw the stone far away into the lake. Oh, young miss. Xiaoru was so shocked that her eyes almost popped out. Chu Xiaoyang, other people treat you as a treasure, but in my Chunning's eyes, you are just a stinky stone in the toilet. Stinky and hard. Chunning smiled as she picked up another ugly stone and threw it into the water without saying a word. Chu Xiaoyang, this miss doesn't care about this stinky stone. Another stone was thrown. Chu Chu. Chu. Chunning was very happy throwing the stones, completely unaware of it. Xiao Xiao stone. Ru Xiao Xiao Chun Chun, she said. Xiao. I. This little mirror lake was right next to the flowing cloud pavilion. The scenery was beautiful and there were green willows. This was a place that Chu Xiaoyang normally liked to come to. But after Chunning moved into the flowing cloud pavilion, he never came here. He was afraid that if he met Chunning, he wouldn't be able to control himself and would choke her to death. This day was also a coincidence. He was going to the intoxicated flower pavilion to visit Chun Baiyun. Chapter 155. Her neck was white and her clothes were half open. Her skin was like jade and her curves were exquisite. She should have been very attractive. If it was the normal Chu Xiaoyang who saw this scene, he would have emotionally pulled her into his embrace and comforted her. But today, when he thought of how she had been soaked in the manure pit for several hours, he could feel a faint stench coming from his nose. Even when a strand of her hair fell on the back of his hand, he couldn't help feeling disgusted. He had a hard time resisting the urge to push her away and said a few words of comfort in a stiff tone. His face was already a bit ugly, but Chun Baiyin did not see it. She pulled Lan Xiang to kneel in front of him and added some vinegar to the lie she had prepared. Then she begged him to make a decision with a face full of grievance. Lan Xiang's face was swollen like a pig's head, and there was a strange smell coming from her body. Chu Xiaoyang did not wait for her to come closer before covering his nose in disgust. The word he didn't want to hear the most was princess. Chen Baiyin kept saying princess and princess, making him feel very angry hearing this. He waved his sleeves and coldly reprimanded her. This king has already given the flowing cloud pavilion to that woman. You clearly know that she has a vicious heart, so why don't you stay away from her? Why do you always send yourself to her door? Lan Xiang becoming like this is all her own fault. If she had obediently stayed in the intoxicated flower pavilion, she would not have been humiliated like this. And you're pregnant. Why didn't you stay in your room and instead went to a remote place like the woodshed? You even dug up some sweet potatoes to make this king's medicine. Could it be that all the chefs in this king's palace have died, and you need the concubine consort to personally make soup? Chun Baiyun had never been so mercilessly reprimanded by Chu Xiaoyang before. She was so embarrassed that she wanted to hide. Her face turned red, white, and green. She was not willing to give up and said in a wronged voice, "Your Highness, are we just going to let Lan Xiang be beaten like this? Even if this matter has nothing to do with elder sister, it is still the fault of her maids. They say that you have to look at the master before beating a dog. Those maids slapping Lan Xiang's face is the same as slapping Yin Er's face. In the future, Yin Er will be looked down upon by everyone in this palace." After saying this, tears fell down and she had a pitiful look on her face. Chu Xiaoyang shouted, "You are this king's concubine. As long as you follow the rules, no one will look down on you. But because of your careless actions, you become the laughingstock of others. You should stay in the intoxicated flower pavilion and reflect on your mistakes. Without this king's permission, you are not allowed to take a single step out of the intoxicated flower pavilion." After saying this, he angrily slammed the door and left. After saying this, he angrily slammed the door and left. Chu Xiaoyang was very annoyed. After leaving the intoxicated flower pavilion, he randomly walked around. Unknowingly, he followed the familiar path to the little mirror lake. All of a sudden, he heard a voice as clear as a silver bell ring out from under the willow tree by the lake. "Chu." The voice called out 3 words clearly. Chu Xiaoyang was shocked. He suddenly stopped and looked over to the source of the sound. A burst of anger rose in his heart. He thought to himself that this servant girl had the guts to call him by his name in public. 2 young girls were standing on a lakeside. Their backs were facing her, so she couldn't see their faces clearly. However, their light green and red eyes were exceptionally eye-catching. Chapter 156. He was thinking with knitted brows, wondering where he had seen this girl before. He saw the green-clothed girl bend down and pick up a dirty stone, throwing it into the lake. Chu Xiaoyang, other people treat you as a treasure, but in my Chuning's eyes, you are just a stinky stone in a latrine pit. Stinky and hard. Chu Xiaoyang's face instantly turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Damn, she was actually Chunning. Enemies really were on a narrow road. Chu Xiaoyang tried his best to control himself from charging out, but his temples were already beginning to hurt. He took a few deep breaths and prepared to leave this place. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve. Who would have thought that when he took a few steps, he would hear Chunning's laughter from behind him? Her voice was very sweet and clear, just like little beads hitting a jade plate. If he did not know that this laughter was Chunning's, perhaps he would have been moved. But now he felt that this voice was very ear-piercing. Go to hell, Chu Xiaoyang. Chunning smiled as she threw out another stone. This was unbearable. Chu Xiaoyang could not hold it in any longer. He turned around, and with a flicker of his body, he appeared behind Chunning. Chunning and Xiao Ru under the tree did not notice anything. They were still happily chatting and laughing, not thinking that someone would suddenly appear behind them. Cheap woman die. Chu Xiaoyang gritted his teeth. Without any hesitation, he raised his right leg and kicked Chunning into the lake. With a putong sound, water splashed everywhere. Chunning fell into the lake like a weight. Young miss. Xiaoru let out a scream. She turned around and saw Chu Xiaoyang's killing intent-filled face. Her face instantly turned white. Your Highness, why did you push the young miss into the water? Although Xiaoru was afraid, she still gathered her courage to ask this question. Her face turned red, and she almost wanted to charge over and fight Chu Xiaoyang. Cheap woman deserves to die. Chu Xiaoyang coldly said this before turning to leave. You. Xiaoru was so angry that she could not say anything. She tightly bit her lips. She did not bother scolding Chu Xiaoyang. She fell to the shore and desperately shouted into the lake. Young miss. Young miss. Someone come. Quickly save her. The princess consort has fallen into the water. Young miss. Young miss. Xiaoru's voice was choked with sobs as tears continued to flow down her face. Her body trembled. If the young miss drowned, she would not want to live either. Ripples suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake, followed by a pop sound, and a wet head with black hair drilled out of the water. Xiaoru was startled, but when she looked over, her tears turned into a smile. Before the tears had even come out, she was already smiling like a flower. Eldest miss, you didn't die. This servant was almost scared to death. Come quickly, let this servant pull you up. Chunning swept away the wet hair in front of her face and looked at the shore. She angrily shouted, Xiaoru, just which bastard kicked my butt from behind? Yes, your highness. Xiaoru stuck out her tongue as she replied. When Chunning heard this, she angrily scolded, Chu Xiaoyang, you can even do this kind of immoral thing. When Chunning heard this, she angrily scolded, Chu Xiaoyang, you can even do this kind of immoral thing. Are you still a man? Although she knew how to swim, being kicked into the lake like this made her drink several mouthfuls of cold water. Adding in the fact that the weather had just warmed up in March, the lake water was still ice cold. Goosebumps appeared all over her body as she shivered in the water, almost cramping up. Chapter 157. Chu Xiaoyang had not gone far when he heard Chunning's scolding behind him. His brows knit together. She actually didn't drown? Humph! She should count herself lucky. Towards Chunning's endless scolding, he turned a deaf ear to it and sped up his footsteps. Only when he was far away that he could no longer hear Chunning's voice did his footsteps slow down. A faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, and even his originally depressed mood became a lot more relaxed. This kick was truly comfortable. Chu Xiaoyang's mood became better, and the smile on his face became wider and wider. Of course, he knew that his actions were not honorable. It was even a bit shameless. If this was spread out, he would be laughed at by others. But he couldn't help it and did it. And he didn't regret it at all. Qinning's body was dripping wet as she climbed out of the lake. Her face was already purple from the cold, and she felt like all the blood in her body had frozen. Xiaoru quickly took off her outer robe and draped it over her. It was a good thing that this place was not far from the Flowing Cloud Pavilion. Seeing Qining come back drenched like a chicken, Chun Tao and Xia, he were both shocked. They didn't have time to ask before they ran into the kitchen to boil some hot water for Qining. After soaking in the steaming hot tub for the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, Qining finally let out a sigh of relief. She felt her limbs begin to warm up. She gritted her teeth and cursed, "Chu Xiaoyang." Then she sneezed 3 times in a row. When she woke up on the second day, Qining felt like her nose was stuffed and her throat was on fire. She knew that she had caught a cold, and it would take her at least 3-5 days to recover. This man could even do something like kicking her in the water behind her back. What bad things could he not do? Qining felt that she had treated this man as a human before, but from today onwards, she decided that she would not treat him as a human anymore. So, she began to give the warmest and most sincere greetings to this man that was not a human. From the 8-man era to his 8 generations of ancestors, she greeted them all. Chun Tao and Xia, his hearts trembled when they heard this. The princess consort's courage was too big. She scolded His Highness 8 generations of ancestors. Didn't that mean she was also scolding the emperor? Daring to scold the emperor. This was a crime punishable by death. Xiaoru was filled with excitement. "You're so wicked. You don't have a temper when giving birth." Qining was tired from greeting people, and her throat was sore. She finally ended today's greetings. Xiaoru couldn't help correcting her. "Young miss, this servant remembers that giving birth to a child without a penis." Qining revealed a faint smile to her and said, "It's not elegant at all. We are people with morals. We can't curse people like this." "But that day in the wooden hut, you called housekeeper Sue and the others mice farting," Xiaoru blurted out. Qining couldn't help flying into a rage out of shame. She said with a serious face, "Xiaoru, no one will think you're mute if you don't speak. Since you're so free, then go out and help me with something." Ning chins and said back, "All right, young miss, please instruct me." Xiaoru stuck out her tongue and made a face. "Ning, as he, she, as he chun. Xiao." Chen picked up the raised. "He, Ning, chun, Ning," as and wrote, with the up. She didn't know any medical skills, but she had read many medical books, many of which were about traditional Chinese medicine. She had memorized many prescriptions and pharmacopoeias. Those that could be passed down from ancient times to modern times were all classics that had been tempered hundreds and thousands of times. Chapter 158. But Qining only had a stomach full of prescriptions. She did not know how to take a pulse. The 3 maids were shocked. "Princess consort, you also have medical skills?" Qining shook her head. "I don't." Xiaohi couldn't help saying, "Our palace has a doctor. How about this servant go find a doctor to take a look at the princess consort's illness? I just caught a cold. It's not a big problem, so I don't need to see a doctor. The people in this palace are all Chu Xiaoyang's people. Who knows if they will poison the medicine to harm me?" Qining softly said. Xiaohi's face turned red and she stammered, "Princess consort, before this servant. Let bygones be bygones. This princess knows that you were tricked by someone else, so don't mention it from now on. As long as you wholeheartedly treat me in the future, this princess will treat you and Chun Tao like sisters." Chun Tao and Xiaohi's hearts were filled with gratitude. The 2 of them had been ostracized in the king's palace, but they never thought that after following the princess consort, they would be able to hold their heads up high. Now all the maids in the king's palace were envious of their good luck. Xiaoru held the jewelry box and prepared to leave, but Qining suddenly called out to her. "Wait a minute." A light flashed in her mind, and she thought of an idea. She said, "After you get the medicine, go buy some fireworks. The more the better. Do you understand?" "Young miss, do you like to set off fireworks? All right, this servant will definitely buy the biggest and prettiest one. Xiaoru happily agreed. Chunning revealed a faint smile and did not say anything else. When Xiaoru came back, she really did buy a lot of fireworks and firecrackers. The smile on her face turned into a flower. When she saw Chunning, she smiled and said, "Young miss, we really have money now." This servant took the jewelry that the second miss sent to the largest pawn shop in the capital and pawned it for a total of 3,000 silver coins. She happily took out a thick stack of silver bills and gave it to Chunning. Then she said, "This servant bought the medicine and firecrackers, spending a total of 1 silver tael. Young miss, we really have money now." Chunning smiled as she poked her forehead. "You're a money grubber girl." After she took the medicine, she felt a lot more comfortable. Her body no longer felt hot and cold, but when she thought of Chu Xiaoyang, her heart filled with anger. She had suffered a large loss to Chu Xiaoyang this time. If she did not take revenge, then she would not be Chunning. But she knew Chu Xiaoyang's strength and knew her own level. If they fought, then 100 Chunning Xiaoyang would not be able to beat him. But a smart person only needed to use their brains, and a fool used their hands. Chunning narrowed her eyes. Her eyes fell onto the pile of fireworks, and she gave a gentle laugh. After washing and eating, she was to Chun Ling Ning Tian, and then she would to Chun. After washing up and having breakfast, she was ready to complete her plan. Xiaoru suddenly walked in from outside with a confused look on her face. She was holding a bamboo basket in her hand that was covered with a blue cloth. "Eldest miss, don't you think it's strange? This servant woke up early this morning and found this basket in front of the door. Can you guess what's in this basket?" "Young miss, how did you guess it?" Xiaoru's eyes opened wide in shock. "Young miss, how did you guess it?" Xiaoru's eyes opened wide in shock. Chapter 159. Xiaoru was suddenly enlightened. Then she asked, "Then, young miss, can you guess who placed this basket of eggs in front of our door?" This servant has already asked Chun Tao and Xia He, but they don't know. Moreover, other than the 4 of us in the Flowing Cloud Pavilion, there is no one else here. Last night, this servant checked the doors and windows and found that they were all locked. So where did this basket of eggs come from? Could it be that the chickens of the world came to our door to lay eggs in the middle of the night? Her round little face revealed a puzzled look. Hearing the words "eggs laid by the chickens of the world," Chunning's heart suddenly skipped a beat. She didn't know why she thought of Chu Xiaobai. Could it be that this basket of eggs was sent by Chu Xiaobai? But didn't he leave in a fit of anger? With his personality, it was impossible for him to turn back. But if it wasn't Chu Xiaobai, where did these eggs that fell from the sky come from? "Xiaoru, leave these eggs here. As for that basket, put it in front of your door when you go to sleep. Perhaps another basket of eggs will appear in the morning. Who knows?" Chunning pursed her lips with a smile. She was just casually joking, but she never thought that Xiaoru would really pile the eggs in front of her and place the basket in front of the door. Chunning didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She looked at the round eggs and then at the firecrackers Xiaoru had brought back. A wonderful idea appeared in her mind. "You guys leave first. I want to be alone for a bit." She sent Xiaoru, Chun Tao, and Xiaohi out of the room. She told them that no matter what happened, they were not allowed to take a single step into the room if they heard anything. Although the 3 maids did not understand what she wanted to do, they couldn't help looking at each other in blank dismay. Chunning had locked herself up for an entire day. If it wasn't for the sounds coming from the room from time to time, the 3 maids would have thought that she had disappeared into thin air. Chun Tao and Xia, he finished cooking and brought it in front of the door. No one dared to disturb Chunning, so they could only silently wait. When the food was cold, they would bring it down and change it to a hot one. When it was cold, they would change it to a new hot dish, all the way until the evening. Pum! Suddenly, there was a deafening explosion in the room. "It's thunder! It's thunder!" Xiaoru screamed out. Her hands tightly covered her ears as her face turned pale from fear. "The sky is collapsing! The sky is collapsing!" Chun Tao and Xia, he hugged each other and shivered. They could feel the entire house shaking slightly. After a while, they realized that it wasn't thunder at all. That loud sound clearly came from Ning's room. First Miss, what's wrong with you? Young Miss, say something. Young Miss. Xiaoru was the first to charge over. Her two fists desperately pounded on the door. She was terrified and only had one thought in her mind. Something must have happened to eldest Miss. That loud noise must have been the explosion of the firecracker she had bought. Eldest Miss might have been blown to pieces. The more she thought about it, the more scared she became. Her face was covered with tears and snot, and her voice was hoarse from shouting. Your Highness, are you inside? Are you all right? Say something. Chun Tao and Xia Tao also rushed over to smash the door. Finally, Chun Ning's voice came from the room. Are the three of you girls calling for souls? I'm not dead yet. Chapter 160. Xiaoru's tears turned into a smile. She was so excited that she could not control herself. Chun Tao and Xia were also overjoyed. They almost hugged their heads as they cheered. That explosion had almost scared them to death. If something happened to the princess, then their days in the king's palace would not be good. All right, I'm fine. You don't need to worry. Go wash up and sleep. You're not allowed to disturb me. Do you understand? Chun Ning's voice was filled with a trace of impatience. The three maids looked at each other and stuck out their tongues. No one dared to say anything, but no one was reassured by Chun Ning. So Chun Tao brought a blanket over, and the three maids stood guard outside the door for an entire night. When it was midnight, the three of them unknowingly fell asleep. After the sun rose, Xiaoru was the first to open her eyes. She gave a sleepy yawn and suddenly jumped up. Her eyes opened wide as she stared at the basket in front of her. The basket, which had been empty before she fell asleep last night, was now filled with eggs. The young miss was right. Her jaw dropped as she stared at the basket of eggs in a daze for a while. Then she suddenly thought of something and rushed to the door. She listened carefully. She found that the room was completely silent, without a single sound. Young miss, young miss. Her heart was filled with fear. Something must have happened to the young miss. Princess consort. Chun Tao and Xia woke up at the same time. Their first reaction was that something had happened to the princess consort. You three, disturbing people's dreams so early in the morning. Aren't you annoying? Chun Ning's lazy voice came from inside the room. Then with a pung-dang sound, the door opened. Young miss, princess consort. When the three maids saw that Chun Ning was safe and sound, they were all surprised and happy. But when their eyes fell onto Chun Ning's face, their chins almost fell off. God, princess consort, how did you become like this? Chun Tao's mouth was wide enough to fit an egg in. Princess consort, you. Xiao was stunned and couldn't say anything. Only Xiaoru's eyes lit up. Her eyes were filled with surprise. Young miss, your hair is too beautiful. How did you get it like this? It's really good, really beautiful. After staying in the room for a day and night, Chun Ning's appearance had completely changed. Her white as jade face was now as black as coal. Her eyes were filled with red veins, and she looked very tired, but the light in her eyes shined brightly. What shocked the three of them the most was her hair that was as black as the clouds. His hair, which used to be as smooth and vertical as satin, was now fluffy and curly, rising and falling like the waves of the sea. Every strand of hair was shining. Xiaoru circled around Chun Ning, filled with envy. Chun Ning looked. Chun Ning. Of course, she couldn't tell the three maids that her hair was caused by the explosion of sulfur from the firecrackers because of her failed experiment. That would be too embarrassing for her, as the princess. Young miss, this servant also wants this kind of pretty hair. Xiaoru pouted. Xiao Shi Xiao. Xiaoru Xiao Long Xiao Ning Xiao was Xiao. Ru Xiao Xiao, how could Xiaoru know? She was so happy that she almost jumped up. Tee to say. Xiao Xiao Xiao, and tu. Chapter 161. Young miss, are you an immortal that has descended to the mortal world? You can even guess this. This servant placed the empty basket here, and when I opened my eyes this morning, it was filled with eggs again. Aren't these eggs from the chickens that descended to the mortal world in the middle of the night? Xiao Ru excitedly picked up the basket like it was a treasure that fell from the heavens. Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat. It had to be Chu Xiaobai. She could already be 100% sure that the person who did this, other than Chu Xiaobai, could not be anyone else. But why did he not give anything else and only give her eggs? What did this mean? Chen Ning suddenly remembered that when he gave her the ice fragrance that night, he had said a few words. It was now clearly echoing in her ears. Don't worry. When you were drunk that day, you said you wanted the ice fragrance and you wanted to collect some eggs. I didn't hear you clearly. The corners of her mouth curled up, and she couldn't help but smile. She really couldn't remember what kind of nonsense she had said when she was drunk. He had heard refrigerator as ice fragrance, and what kind of strange thing was collecting eggs? When she saw Chu Xiaobai, she would definitely ask him clearly. Only, would he appear in front of her again? He had sent the eggs to her door for the past 2 nights, but he did not appear in front of her. This meant that he was still angry at her and did not want to see her at all. Young miss, this servant will go and collect the eggs. These are all eggs from the heavenly chickens. Each one is a treasure. Xiao Ru tightly held the basket as she spoke. Chen Ning was currently immersed in her thoughts and gave a soft unsound. She did not pay attention to what Xiao Ru was saying. Xiao Ru happily placed the eggs in the basket into the cabinet and reached out to pick up the eggs she had placed on the table yesterday. Eldest miss, why don't this servant collect these eggs as well? Chen Ning turned around when she heard this. Seeing that Xiao Ru had just picked up an egg, her expression instantly changed. Xiao Ru, don't move. Don't move. Her expression was very nervous. It was like what Xiao Ru had picked up was not an egg, but rather a bomb. Xiao Ru had never seen this kind of expression from the young miss before. Her heart filled with fear and her hands trembled, causing the egg to fall from her hands. It was a good thing that Chen Ning arrived in time. She reached out her hands to carefully pick up the egg and let out a soft sigh. Little Ru, do you know that you almost poked a hornet's nest? Hornet's nest? Xiao Ru carefully looked at the egg in Chen Ning's hand and scratched her head in confusion. This isn't a hornet's nest. It's clearly an egg. Eldest miss, although this servant has never been educated, this servant can clearly distinguish between an egg and a hornet's nest. Chen Ning speechlessly looked at the sky and couldn't help rolling her eyes. God, quickly take this fool, Xiao Ru, away. Princess consort, is there anything different about these eggs? It was Chun Tao who was more attentive. She saw that all the eggs on the table had a red dot on them, but the eggs that Xiao Ru put in the cupboard did not have one. Yes, it's different, very different. None of you are allowed to touch these eggs on my table. You're not allowed to even touch them, understand? Chen Ning had a serious expression as she carefully placed the egg back on the table. These eggs with red dots were the result of her hard work for a day and a night. It was not easy for her to make them. Xu Xiaoyang. She hoped that he would like the gift she had carefully prepared for him. Chapter 162. It was night, and it was just past the second watch. Chen Ning quietly left the flowing cloud pavilion by herself and headed straight for the Peach Blossom Cove. She had already asked Xia He to find out that Xu Xiaoyang had been staying in the Peach Blossom Cove for the past few days, not going to Chun Bai Yun's intoxicated flower pavilion. It was probably because Chun Bai Yun had fallen into the manure pit, and he was still brooding over it. This was a golden opportunity given by the heavens. She did not ask anyone to follow her. The 3 maids did not know martial arts, so bringing them along would restrict their movements. Not only would they not be able to help her, they would also fail her at a critical moment. Especially that girl Xiao Ru. Of course, she did not reveal the goal of her trip to Xiao Ru. Otherwise, Xiao Ru would be worried about her safety and follow behind her. In order to hide her figure, she had changed into a set of black clothes and covered her face with a black cloth, only revealing a pair of black and white eyes. In her pockets, there were 2 red eggs, one on each side. Hey, Chu Xiaoyang, I'll let you have a taste of the secret weapon I've carefully made. Enjoy it. She was very confident in her results. She did not meet any trouble on the way and smoothly sneaked into the Peach Blossom Cove. This was because the guard of the palace would never have thought that someone would be this bold daring to break into the forbidden area of the palace. Around the Peach Blossom Cove, there was not a single guard. This was because they all knew how strong His Highness martial arts was and how profound his skills were. Anything that happened within 100 meters would not escape His Highness' ears. If someone dared to sneak into the Peach Blossom Cove, they would be seeking death. It was a pity that everyone in the palace knew about this. Only Chun-Ning did not. When she sneaked into the Peach Blossom Cove, she was still celebrating her good luck. In fact, when she first jumped into the Peach Blossom Cove, Chu Xiaoyang's ears had already perked up and his brows were slightly raised. He put down the sword he was cleaning, and his lips curled into a cold smile. There was actually someone who dared to break into his Peach Blossom Cove. When he heard the footsteps of the person landing, he knew that the person who came was not a strong martial artist, but rather a Jianghu rookie. He couldn't even be considered a rookie. To deal with this kind of person, he did not need to use his weapon at all. There was no need to tarnish his sword. Chun-Ning stood on her tiptoes and walked towards the elegant little house in the depths of the Peach Blossom Cove. She could see the light of the little house in the distance. It was very clear that Chu Xiaoyang was staying inside. She was afraid of stepping on the fallen leaves and stones on the ground, so every step she took was extra careful. She lifted her feet high and landed lightly without making a sound. Step by step, she came closer and closer to the little house in the Peach Blossom Cove. Step by step, she came closer and closer to the little house in the Peach Blossom Ning. The night breeze lifted the corner of his robe, and the peach branches swayed slightly from the wind, but he stood steadily, and his body did not sway in the slightest. It was enough to show that his qin gong was superb. He looked down from above, looking down at Chun-Ning. He looked at Chun-Ning's sneaky appearance, and suddenly felt it was very funny. Where were this stupid thief? How did he manage to sneak into the prince's mansion with his poor qin gong? Could it be that the guards of the prince's mansion were freeloaders? A sharp killing intent flashed through his eyes. Anyone who dared to break into the Peach Blossom Cove would die. He suddenly jumped down, and his right palm was like a knife as he aimed it at Chun-Ling's back. At this moment, Chun-Ling suddenly felt a sense of danger. The hairs on the back of his neck stood up. Chapter 163. She didn't even have time to turn around before she felt a large pressure on her back. It was like a large mountain was falling on her, and she knew this was bad in her heart. Chu Xiaoyang's lips curled into a taunting smile as his palm touched Chun-Ning's back. As long as this palm landed, Chun-Ning's organs would shatter and she would die from spitting out blood. At this moment, his eyes lit up. He found that this little thief wearing night clothes had a slender waist and a slender figure. It was actually a girl. Could it be her? A thought flashed through his mind in the blink of an eye. It was too late to withdraw his palm now. In a moment of desperation, he suddenly reached out with his left hand and pushed his right arm. That palm that could shatter stone brushed past Chun-Ning's back, and with a pung sound, it hit a peach tree to the side. Flower petals fell from the tree like rain, creating a beautiful scene. It was a pity that Chu Xiaoyang and Chun-Ning did not have the heart to appreciate this beautiful scene. Chun-Ning walked from life to death, and from death to life. She was so scared that her body was covered in a cold sweat. She suddenly turned around, and her two bright eyes looked at Chu Xiaoyang behind her. Chu Xiaoyang saw that her face was covered with a black cloth. He was first stunned, but then he revealed a faint cold smile. His right palm slashed out, and a gust of wind flew out. Chun-Ning felt a chill on her face. The black cloth covering her face had been cut off by his palm, and it fell to the ground. Her wave-like hair was blown back by the wind from his palm. Her jet black hair was blown back by the wind, and the flower petals fell onto her hair and shoulders. The people and the scenery formed an incomparably beautiful picture. It's her. It's really her. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes were filled with shock as he stared at this scene in a daze. For a moment, he forgot to speak. This is bad. She was discovered. Chun-Ning faced Chu Xiaoyang. Although she did not have any expression on her face, many thoughts flashed through her mind. She knew that it was impossible for her to escape from under his eyes, but she was not willing to give up like this. She suddenly looked up, and her eyes shined like stars. She reached out to gather her flying hair and revealed a sweet smile to Chu Xiaoyang. This faint smile was like spring returning to the earth, melting the ice and melting the snow. Chu Xiaoyang was dazzled and his heart began to beat faster. At this moment, Chen Ning took out an egg from her pocket. With a wave of her hand, she threw it at Chu Xiaoyang. "This is for you." Chu Xiaoyang saw a round thing flying at him. He was cautious and did not dare to catch it with his hand. With a wave of his sleeve, the egg was caught in his sleeve. Holding it in front of his eyes, he saw that it was just an ordinary egg. He was slightly surprised. "Hey girl, don't go, I have to ask you." He looked up and found that Chen Ning had already left, so he quickly chased after her. "Good things come in pairs. I'll give you another one." Chen Ning looked back with a smile. She took out another egg and threw it over. This time, Chu Xiaoyang reached out to catch it without thinking. He did to come, to. Chen Ning did not reply. She turned around and sped up. She to him. He had been looking for her for so long, and he had finally seen her again. How could he let her escape again? Chu Xiaoyang smiled as he played with the 2 eggs in his hand. His eyes followed Chen Ning's back the entire time. This game of cat and mouse had just begun, and he was very interested in it. He suddenly felt that the egg in his hand was a bit strange. It was like it was boiling hot, and he couldn't help looking down. Pung. Chapter 164. Hearing the large explosion behind her, Chen Ning revealed a smile. She wanted to turn around to see what Chu Xiaoyang looked like, but it was too late. This was because she found that there was already a large group of guards coming over after hearing the explosion. Her figure flashed, and she hid in the shadows in the corner. "Someone come. Someone quickly come. Something has happened. Something has happened to His Highness. Royal Doctor. Quickly call the Royal Doctor." She hid in the shadows and saw groups of people shouting as they charged into the Peach Blossom Cove with panicked expressions. She saw that there was housekeeper Sue and Mother Lin among these people. Not long after, Chen Baiyun's figure also appeared in her line of sight. AI, it really was a pity. She had only brought 2 Thunderbolt eggs and had given them to Chu Xiaoyang. Otherwise, she would have given one to her good little sister to have a taste. Chen Ning gave a regretful sigh. Seeing these people looking like but were on fire, she really wanted to see what that unlucky fellow who had been hit by her 2 Thunderbolt eggs looked like. But she knew that once she showed herself, she would be discovered. She waited for a while. When the voices quieted down, she quietly slipped out from the corner of the wall, preparing to leave the flowing cloud pavilion without being noticed. Humph! At this moment, her ears suddenly moved and she heard a cold snort. Chen Ning's back instantly turned stiff. There was someone, and this person was right beside her. She suddenly turned around and saw that there was no one behind her, not even a single person. "Xiao Bai, stop hiding. I know it's you." Although that laughter was soft, it was very familiar. Other than Chu Xiao Bai, there was no one else. After she said this, she stood in place and silently waited. Who would have thought that after waiting for a while, Chu Xiao Bai would not appear? "Xiao Bai, are you still angry with me? All right, since you're still angry and not willing to see me, then I'll be leaving." She began to walk away. "Leave? Do you think you can leave?" Chu Xiao Bai's voice suddenly came from behind her. Chen Ning turned around again. Chu Xiao Bai did not avoid her this time. He just stood in front of her with a cold expression, without a trace of a smile on his face. Seeing him like this, it gave Chen Ning a strange feeling. "You really are bold, daring to charge into my 3rd brother's Peach Blossom Cove and wanting to leave like this. Do you think that the guards in my 3rd brother's palace are all useless? I'll bet you that before you even take 3 steps, you will be discovered and captured as an assassin." He stretched out his hand and drew her into the shadow of the corner. And as they stood close together against the wall, the words were spoken almost against her ear. His breath was hot and ticklish behind her ear, and she shivered. "Chen Ning's. Xiao Bai, are you worried about me?" She lowered her voice to a whisper. Chu Xiao, Xiao Ning gave a cold snort. Chen Ning knew that he was still angry at her, but since he was willing to show himself and secretly give her the egg, it meant that he was just pretending to be angry. Man's face. If you don't say anything, then I'll just walk out like this. I'm not afraid of them capturing me as an assassin, Chen Ning deliberately said. Chu Xiaobai reached out and grabbed her arm. Grinding his teeth, he said, "Stop messing around." He looked around and then said, "This is not the place to talk. I'll bring you out of here first." Draped in a black cloak, he flew up like an eagle, wrapped her in it, and leaped over the wall with her. Chapter 165. Chen Ning couldn't help asking, "Your leg, is it better?" She noticed that he was using his left foot when he landed and not his injured right leg. "Are you worried about me?" His eyes sparkled as he looked at her. There was a strange flame dancing in his eyes. Chen Ning bit her lips and turned her head to the side. This brat had become bad. He wasn't cute at all. Chu Xiaobai had a serious and cold expression on his face, but because of her words, his mood couldn't help becoming better. His lips curled into a faint smile. He had been attracted over by the two explosions. When he rushed over, he saw Chen Ning hiding in the shadows in the corner. Not far away were the palace guards holding torches and rushing over. He could almost immediately determine that Chen Ning was the culprit behind the explosions. Chu Xiaobai couldn't help feeling both funny and angry. The funny thing was that she was really strange, actually running over to deal with his third brother. He was angry because she really was too daring. Did she think that with her mediocre martial arts, she would be able to win against his third brother? He had a deep brotherly love and wanted to see his third brother's injuries. With that kind of explosion, perhaps his third brother would be seriously injured. But he heard Chu Xiaoyang's angry roar. "Search. If you can't catch the assassin, then bring your heads to see this king. Even if I have to dig 3 feet into the ground, this king will dig her out." It was clear that he was extremely angry just hearing this. Chu Xiaobai's heart fell back into his stomach. His third brother could still curse at him, which meant that he was fine. However, his eyes looked over Chen Ning. If this girl was caught by the guards, his third brother would not let her off. Especially when he saw that she actually wanted to sneak out, he really couldn't hold it in anymore. There were so many guards in the garden now. As long as she took 2 steps, she would be discovered. This girl, she really didn't know her limits. "Hey, where are you taking me?" Chen Ning felt the wind blow past her ears and the flowers and trees under her feet fly by. Chu Xiaobai was bringing her over the walls, and she couldn't help feeling a bit flustered. He wouldn't be planning on taking her away and not letting her return to the king's palace, right? Chu Xiaobai put on a serious face and did not reply. He wanted to find a quiet place to properly teach her a lesson. "Xiaobai, your qigong is really good. Even with your leg injured, you can still run like you're flying." Seeing that Chu Xiaobai was ignoring her, Chen Ning was not angry, and she praised him with a smile. She quickly fell in love with the feeling of flying in the air. It would be great if she could use qigong. A thought suddenly appeared in her mind. "Humph." Chu Xiaobai gave another snort, but his heart was filled with sweetness. It was like he had eaten a candy covered in honey, and his lips slightly curled up. "We're here." He suddenly stopped moving. A large body of water appeared in front of Chen Ning. It was at least 10 times larger than the little mirror lake in the King Dingyuan Palace, and there was a bright moon reflected on the surface of the lake. There was a small boat on the shore. Chu Xiaobai gently pulled her, and they landed on the small boat. He picked up the bamboo pole and broke the surface of the water. The boat quietly rowed out. On the pond, there was a gentle breeze, and the moonlight reflected off the water. Chu Xiaobai did not say a word, and Chen Ning did not say a word. She was already intoxicated by the beautiful scenery in front of her. Chapter 166. The island was filled with green bamboo. As the wind blew, the bamboo leaves rustled. A white cobblestone path wound through the bamboo forest, leading to an unknown place. The green grass on the ground was soft, as if he was stepping on a plush carpet. This was simply a paradise. Chen Ning's eyes opened wide in surprise and joy. "Xiaobai, what is this place? It's so beautiful." Chu Xiaobai's face was not beautiful, but rather it was very ugly. "Do you hate my third brother that much that you have to kill him?" he said through gritted teeth. He thought of that giant explosion, and he really did not know how this girl managed to do it. Although his third brother did not die, he was not having a good time right now. Otherwise, his third brother would not have roared out like an enraged lion. Ning found it funny looking at his resentful face and comforted him. Relax, he won't die. He will just suffer a bit. If we let him die this easily, wouldn't that be letting him off easy? This scumbag, he actually kicked her into the lake. If she didn't know how to swim, she would have already become a water ghost in the lake. She couldn't bear to kill him this quickly. Chu Xiaobai's heart felt like it was filled with cotton, not being able to go up or down. You. He opened his mouth and swallowed his words back down several times. Didn't you say it very nicely before? Helping reason and not family? Why are you regretting it now? Is it because you saw your third brother suffer a loss, so you want to help your third brother deal with an outsider like me? Ning looked at him, and her lips curled into a faint mocking smile. She had already guessed that no matter how good he was to her, he could not compare to his third brother in his heart. Stop wrongly accusing me. The one I'm worried about is you. Chu Xiaobai gritted his teeth, and his handsome brows jumped up. His beautiful black eyes were filled with rage. He grabbed her arms and used a lot of strength that she couldn't help frowning. You really are bold. Do you know how high my third brother's martial arts are? You want to plot against him with your skills. You're really dreaming. You're really lucky to be able to live this time. Chu Xiaobai was very angry. He was angry that she did not know the severity of the situation and was too bold. She could escape this time, but what about next time? What if he did not appear? Under his aggressive gaze, Ning looked down and closed her mouth without saying a word. He was not wrong. In fact, when she thought back to the situation, she was filled with fear. When that sharp sense of danger and murderous aura came from behind her, she realized how big of a mistake she had made. She had underestimated Chu Xiaoyang's martial arts too much. She didn't expect that the martial arts described in the books about internal energy masters who could pick up flowers and leaves and distinguish shapes by sound were all real. This Chu Xiaoyang's martial arts could only be described as unfathomable. But she was really a newborn calf that was not afraid of a tiger. She treated a tiger like a sick cat and even wanted to pluck its fur from its tail. If this wasn't seeking death, then what was? What if Chu Xiaoyang's palm did not hit the peach tree and instead hit her back? What if Chu Yang's palm was with her back end? Although she was in a moment of desperation and threw out 2 thunderbolt eggs, she had also exposed her true face in front of Chu Xiaoyang. She was now living under the same roof as him. They would see each other all the time, and one day they would meet again. If Chu Xiaoyang found out that she was the one who blew his face up, he would pull out his tendons and skin himself alive. Perhaps he would have even more powerful methods to deal with her. Chapter 167. Now that you know fear, it's too late. In this world, no one that offends my third brother will have a good ending. My third brother is a very petty person. You better pray to the gods that he will never find you. Chu Xiaobai looked at her, not ignoring her slight tremble. Although his words were cold, he took off his black cloak and placed it over her shoulders. Ning's heart felt warm. Xiaobai, you will help me, right? She suddenly turned her head and revealed a gentle smile to him. His heart skipped a beat, and his breathing stopped as he gave a snort. You want me to help you deal with third brother? I can't do that. He had an expressionless face as he rejected her. Did this girl think that just by smiling at him, she could make them fight each other? He could help her tease his third brother and watch his third brother make a fool of himself. But if someone wanted to harm his third brother's life, Chu Xiaobai, would not agree. Even she could not. Ning was not angry and said with a faint smile, Xiaobai, your Qigong is very good. Are you willing to teach me Qigong? Learn Qigong? Chu Xiaobai was stunned and turned to look at her. You said I'll help you. Is that teaching you Qigong? That's right. Ning raised her brows and sat down on the grass without a care in the world. She pulled out a blade of grass and chewed it before spitting it out. Her movements were very natural, without the slightest bit of pretense. It was completely different from those well-behaved young ladies that he was used to seeing. Why do you want to learn Qigong? He sat down next to her standing shoulder to shoulder with her. Of course it's to escape. Chun-Ning giggled and stuck out her tongue. I've offended your third brother today, so I'm afraid that when he sees me next time, he will choke me to death. If I had a Qinggong like yours, even if I can't beat him, I can still run. Chu Xiaobai was angry and amused at the same time. Did she think that Qinggong was something that could be learned so easily? If she wanted to escape from his third brother, she wouldn't be able to do it even if she practiced for 10 years. However, if she really learned Qinggong, if she encountered danger, she would have another way to save her life. All right, I'll teach you. He nodded without any hesitation. Chen Ning was a little excited. Is Qinggong hard to learn? Of course it's not hard. Chu Xiaobai replied without even thinking. It was indeed very easy for him. But, do you know internal energy? Actually, he did not need to ask to know that she did not have any internal energy. She knew some ordinary fist and leg skills, but in the eyes of martial arts experts like him and his third brother, those skills were like child's moves, not worth mentioning. Not at all. Chen Ning honestly shook her head. If you don't have internal energy to support it, it will be hard to reach the peak of Qinggong. Chu Xiaobai was a bit troubled. He thought about it and said, how about I teach you an internal cultivation technique first? Chen Ning's eyes lit up. Of course, she wanted to learn internal energy, but she knew from the books that internal energy had to be cultivated step by step. There was no such thing as overnight success. I don't need to reach the peak. I just need to be able to run faster than I am now. If that's the case, it'll be much simpler. I'll teach you the introductory mantra of Qinggong now. Chu Xiaobai thought about it for a bit. You have to remember it well. I'll only say it once. If you're too stupid to remember it, I won't teach you a second time. He deliberately said. All right, then listen carefully. There are a total of 8 chants. Chu Xiaobai said in a clear voice. Clear qi makes the body light. Muddy qi makes the body heavy. All right, then listen carefully. There are a total of 8 chants. Chu Xiaobai said in a clear voice. Clear air makes the body light. Muddy air makes the body heavy. Some have a body as light as a swallow. Some have a body as heavy as duckweed. Some have a body as light as a swallow. Some have a body as light as duckweed. Achieving the flying eaves technique, each has its own good fortune. His words were very clear, but he spoke very quickly. After he finished, he looked at Chen Ning with eyes filled with malicious intent. Chapter 168. Che, isn't it just 8 sentences? It's not like it's 80,000 words. How could she not remember it? Chen Ning rolled her eyes at him and impatiently said, I remember. I remember. Is that all? Is there more? Chu Xiaobai looked at her with a strange look. Of course there is more. Listen well. Lifting something heavy as if it's nothing, running across the grass like a god. Remember that you don't need to train your hands and learn a balance by watching a dragonfly. Using true qi to lift your chest, you can jump through the air like a god. A reed can cross a river with a leaf. It's all about balance. I remember. Is there more? Chen Ning nodded again. This was not difficult for her at all. Chu Xiaobai was stunned this time. He looked at her with a bit of disbelief. You really remember it all? He considered himself to be extremely intelligent. When he was learning this set of Qinggong chants, his master had only read it twice, and he had memorized it without missing a single word. His master had once praised him greatly, but she was actually able to remember it after only one time. This immediately made him very unconvinced. All right, the following chant is a bit long, so you have to listen carefully. I'll only say it once, and if you can't remember it, you have to call me good big brother 10 times. No problem. Chen Ning agreed without any hesitation. He looked at her slightly raised chin and her proud tone, and he couldn't help feeling competitive. A body as light as a swallow, a crane flying through the sky. He did not stop as he continued to recite it. This chant had a total of 700 words, and it had taken him an incense stick of time to memorize it without missing a single word. He did not believe that she would really remember it if he only said it once. She would definitely call him good big brother 10 times. Success cannot be shown on the outside. Cultivating qi to protect the body. He finished reciting the last line of the incantation and then looked at her with a smile. Chen Ning slightly closed her eyes and silently recited it. Seeing her serious expression, Chu Xiaobai couldn't help finding it funny. If you can memorize it without missing a single word, I'm willing to take you as my master, he said with a smile and a confident look on his face. Chen Ning suddenly opened her eyes and revealed a smile at him. Her red lips slightly parted, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Xiaobai, a gentleman's words cannot be taken back. Can you not regret it? Of course I won't regret it, but if you can't memorize it, you can't call me Xiaobai anymore. You have to call me good big brother. He revealed a mischievous smile. It's a deal. Chen Ning blinked and revealed a smile. Good disciple, just wait to call me master. The body is as light as a swallow's body. She began to recite slowly. Her voice was crisp and clear. At first, she spoke slowly, but later, she became faster and more fluent. It was like a stream rushing out of a valley and splashing onto a rock. She spoke so fast that he almost couldn't catch her. She quickly recited the last line. You can't be shown on the outside. Cultivating qi can't be seen. There was not a single correct. Xiao xiao chan xiao xiao ti a good. Xiao a xiao ti. Xiao. Chu Chu ninked. Said. No. Chu Xiaobai gritted his teeth and turned his face to the side. I ning, he said. I! Exclamation point. Would he be able to raise his head in front of her if he called her that? Hey, Xiaobai, you're a man. You can't go back on your words. Chen Ning stood on her tiptoes with a smile and pulled his chin to face her. Do you want to go back on your words? I'm going back on my words. What can you do? Chu Xiaobai angrily glared at her. Under the starlight, her slightly raised face was very beautiful. Her eyes were like stars in a cold pond, and her lips were filled with a faint smile. She was like a flower that was about to bloom, looking very beautiful. Chapter 169. All right, I won't call you if you don't want to. It's not a big deal. Hey, Xiaobai, you taught me Qigong. Where should I start practicing? Her eyes were magnanimous, and her eyes were as clear as water with a smile on her face. Chu Xiaobai couldn't help feeling ashamed for having such thoughts. He put away his thoughts and said with a serious expression, Now, I'll teach you a few things. You have to learn them properly. One teaching, one learning, time flew by without them knowing it. The eastern sky was turning white and the sky was becoming brighter. Chu Xiaobai said, This is enough for you to practice for 3 months. As long as you practice hard in these 3 months, your Qigong will reach the small success realm. Her cleverness was a great surprise to him. The things he had taught her in these 4 hours, it would have taken him 3 days to remember in the past. But as long as he said it once, she would remember it all. Xiaobai, thank you. Chen Ning also felt that she had learned a lot from this night. She looked up at him with a faint smile. Humph, if you can't reach the floating duckweed crossing stage in 3 months, this master will kick you out, he said with a serious expression. A good teacher produces a good disciple. If I can't reach the small success realm, it's not that I'm not skilled enough, but rather that your teacher isn't good enough. I'm a lowly person, a hidden master. She smiled and made a face at him. Chu Xiaobai didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He would never gain the upper hand in bickering with her. Chen Ning used her arms as a pillow and laid down on the lush green grass, watching the stars disappear into the sky one by one. He sat beside her, watching the calm mirror like a lake. But his heart was in turmoil, not being calm at all. He had already made up his mind to never see her again, but he could not control his steps or his heart. He couldn't help secretly looking at her every night, wandering outside her window, but never taking a single step into her room. That night, she had used a cruel and heartless method to reject him. He was a man. He had a man's pride and dignity. He would never beg her for charity. If he hadn't seen her in a dangerous situation tonight, if he hadn't seen her personally teach his third brother a fierce lesson, he would never have shown himself. He wanted to save her and leave, but because of her words of concern, he was once again filled with hope. She was worried about his injuries. Did that mean that in her heart, other than his third brother, he also had a place? It was unknown what Chen Ning was thinking, but she suddenly began to laugh. What's so funny? He turned to look at her and said with a faint smile, I'm thinking about your third brother. Her eyes curved as she smiled. Chu Xiaobai's face turned dark, and his heart felt like it. Right now, his heart and eyes were filled with her figure. She was clearly by his side, but the person he was thinking of was his third brother. Moreover, why was she smiling so happily when he was mentioned? You don't hate my third brother? Chen T T T TTU. His heart ached, as if it was being bitten by a poisonous snake called jealousy. T T T T T T T is T's T third. Otherwise, why wouldn't she accept him? Why wouldn't she leave the cage-like prince's mansion? His hand gripped the grass on the ground and unknowingly exerted force. He was completely unaware that his hand was stained with the green juice of the grass. Chapter 170. Thank me. Thank him for sending her back to his third brother's side? Chu Xiaobai gritted his teeth again. Thank you for the eggs you gave me. If I didn't see them, I wouldn't have thought of that good idea. AI. It's a pity I didn't see his current appearance. He was hit by 2 of my thunderbolt eggs, so he would definitely look very good right now. Chen Ning couldn't stop giggling. She felt like the anger in her heart had finally been released. Chu Xiaobai felt like his chest was filled with even more pain. Teasing my third brother and seeing him suffer, does that make you very happy? He held his breath and looked at her without blinking. He really liked seeing her smile, especially this kind of smile that came from the heart. It was bright and beautiful, making him feel like the entire sky was lit up. But her smile was not because of him, but rather because of his third brother. That's right, of course I'm happy. Then when you're with me, are you happy? Chu Xiaobai suddenly asked. Chen Ning was a bit stunned, but then she slowly nodded. She did not deny it and did not want to deny it. When she saw him again, her heart was filled with joy. She was relaxed, and there was even a trace of joy. Chu Xiaobai's heart began to beat faster. Then he like me or my third brother? He blurted out. This question had been in his heart for a long time. After a long time, he finally asked it out. After asking it, his face couldn't help turning red as he nervously looked at her. Like your third brother. Chen Ning blinked. Chu Xiaobai's heart suddenly sank, and the glow on his face disappeared. How is this possible? She suddenly smiled and opened her eyes wide like he had asked a very funny question. I like him. Xiaobai, you actually asked this kind of question. Are you stupid or am I stupid? I like him. Not in this lifetime. His eyes instantly lit up. Then the person you like is me, right? He held his breath as he asked, not daring to blink. I really like you. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile, but it's just like... He suddenly approached her and threatened, if you dare say I'm like a little brother again, I'll... He fiercely stared at her and grinded his teeth. All right, I won't say it. Chen Ning pursed her lips into a smile. Even if you don't say it, you can't say it in your heart. Chen Ning nodded again with a smile in her clear eyes. He stared at her eyes, which were more beautiful than the stars in the sky. He suddenly had an urge to hug her and kiss her eyes. His arms moved slightly, but he forced himself not to. He told himself that he absolutely could not. But if she continued to look at him like this, he couldn't guarantee what he would do next. He suddenly felt that he was very stupid. Last time, he actually left in a huff because of what she said. She clearly liked him. The light kiss she left on his cheek made him reminisce for a long time. If she didn't like him, why would she kiss him? If she didn't admit it, he wouldn't force her. Because her current identity was his third brother's princess. If he really wanted to be with her, he had to help her get rid of this identity and regain her freedom. However, the marriage between her and third brother was personally decreed by the emperor. Words of gold and jade carried enormous weight. There was absolutely no going back on it. When he thought of the emperor, he suddenly felt a chill in his heart, and all his enthusiasm was frozen into ice. In the future, if you're unhappy, I'll bring you here, all right? He steeled his heart and threw all his unhappiness and worries to the back of his mind. He just wanted to make her smile happily. Chapter 171. All right. Chen Ning smiled and suddenly gave a large yawn. She felt a wave of fatigue wash over her. She had already not slept for 2 days and 2 nights. There was a gentle breeze here, The environment was quiet, and the green grass was like a bed that tempted her. Xiaobai, send me back. I'm tired. She gently leaned against his shoulder and closed her eyes. Chu Xiaobai responded, but his body did not move at all. He was reluctant to leave. As long as she was by his side, he would feel warm and sweet. Once he thought of sending her back to his third brother's side, his heart felt suffocated. Chenning only wanted to pretend to sleep for a bit, but as soon as she closed her eyes, she fell into a deep sleep. Not being able to hear her speak, Chu Xiaobai turned to look and found that she had actually fallen asleep on his shoulder. Her sleeping face was very calm, as if she was having a good dream. Her lips were slightly curled up, just like a bright red water chestnut. His heart suddenly began to beat faster and his mouth became dry. He wanted to look away, but he couldn't bear to. There was a small voice in his heart that kept telling him, "Kiss her, just secretly kiss her." She definitely wouldn't know. He was bewitched by this voice and slowly leaned over to her. Unknowingly, he was getting closer and closer to her until her red lips were right in front of him. As long as he slightly lowered his head, he would be able to touch them. A faint sweet scent filled the air. A few strands of her hair were blown by the wind, and they flew across his face, making him feel very itchy. There was also a little bug in his heart that was making him feel very itchy. He closed his eyes and was prepared to kiss her lips no matter what, wanting to taste the feeling he had been craving for a long time. A gentle breeze came, and she shivered a bit. She suddenly turned around and shrunk into his embrace, as if she was seeking warmth. This action caused his entire body to stiffen up. His arms were straight and tightly pressed against his thighs, afraid that he would accidentally touch her body. There was a fire burning in his heart that almost melted him. She was in his arms, but he didn't dare to hug her. He was still young and full of vigor. How could he resist the temptation of a soft and fragrant body? He was afraid that if he hugged her, he would do something he would regret for the rest of his life. But he couldn't bear to let him leave. Only the heavens knew that this kind of situation had happened countless times in his dreams. But when he woke up, he found that it was all just a dream. His heart was being tortured, and every moment was a kind of sweet torture for him. Chenning leaned into his embrace, sleeping sweetly. In the early morning of spring, birds were chirping in the treetops. Chenning was woken up by the chirping of birds outside the window. She opened her eyes in a daze. When she saw that she had returned to her room in the flowing cloud pavilion, she was not surprised. She was still wearing the same black outfit from last night. It was neat and tidy. Even a knot on the belt was personally tied by her and had not been untied at all. Chenning sat up and revealed a faint smile. This Xiaobai was really a gentleman who abided by etiquette. He did not take advantage of her when she was asleep to do anything improper. Princess consort, princess consort. Suddenly there was the sound of hurried footsteps, followed by the sound of banging on the door. Chapter 172. What Highness? Which Highness? Chenning had just woken up, so she was still in a daze. Suddenly, she came to a realization and jumped out of bed. Her eyes opened wide. This was the King Ding Yuan Palace, so what other highness could there be? Naturally, it was Chu Xiaoyang. Damn, why would Chu Xiaoyang come to the Flowing Cloud Pavilion? He must be here to settle accounts with her. This was the first thought that flashed in Chenning's mind. No, she had to quickly escape. Chenning opened the window and wanted to jump out. But thinking about it, that wasn't right. Chu Xiaoyang could not find out who she was in a single night. Don't panic, don't panic. She couldn't panic in front of that scum and reveal a flaw. She couldn't help despising herself. If she ran away, wouldn't it be like she had a guilty conscience? It would make it easier for her to bear Chu Xiaoyang's suspicions. She gave a gentle cough and walked over to open the door. She calmly looked at Chun Tao and said in a calm voice, "Isn't it just Chu Xiaoyang coming? What is there to be surprised about?" Seeing your panicked appearance, this princess thought that a wild boar had entered our courtyard. Hearing Chun Ning's words, Chun Tao revealed an awkward expression. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Her face was red with excitement. This was the first time she had seen His Highness come to visit the princess. as a maid of the king's palace. Of course, she hoped that the princess and His Highness could reconcile. If the princess obtained His Highness' favor, then the status of the maids in the palace would rise. What is he doing here so early in the morning? Tell him that I have a cold and won't see him. Chen Ning lazily said. Princess consort, His Highness heard that you were sick, so he personally came to see you. Princess consort, this servant will go get some water for you to freshen up, and then go out to greet His Highness? Chun Tao was not willing to let Chen Ning miss this heaven-sent opportunity. His legs are on his body. It was him who came to see me, not this princess who invited him. So why should this princess go out to greet him? Tell him that this princess is sick and cannot get out of bed. If he isn't afraid of this princess' illness, then he can come in. Chen Ning looked around and saw Chu Xiaoyang's figure appear in her line of sight. She suddenly realized that she was still wearing her night clothes, and her face was clean without any disguise. This is bad. There was no time to change clothes now. She rushed over to the dresser to grab a box of rouge and jumped onto the bed. Then she jumped onto the bed and jumped onto the bed. This series of actions were very clean, but before she could even catch her breath, she heard the door open and Chu Xiaoyang walked in with large steps. Although Chun Ning really wanted to open the bed and see what Chu Xiaoning looked like with, she was Chu Xiaoyang's Chen Ning's face. It was up. As soon as he entered the yard, he heard the conversation between Chun Ning and Chun Tao. Hearing that Chen Ning compared him to a wild boar, his chest almost exploded with rage. Towards Chen Ning's sharp tongue, he was already a bit used to it. If she was willing to say good things about him, then it would be strange. Up. As soon as he entered the room, his hazy eyes stared straight at the bed curtains. He did not even look at Chun Tao. Chun Tao shivered and hurriedly retreated. Chapter 173. He stood there without moving, and his hands slowly clenched into fists. A pair of cold eyes stared at the hazy figure in the curtains without blinking. Through the curtains, Chun Ning could still feel the cold air coming from him. She couldn't help pulling up the blanket. What was he pulling? She disapprovingly curled her lips. She waited for a long time, but Chu Xiaoyang did not say anything. Chen Ning was also a bit unsure of why he was here. Your Highness heard that this princess was sick and came to visit? I'm sorry, this princess has a cold and can't get out of bed, so I can't entertain Your Highness. Your Highness can sit by yourself. Chun Ning's lazy voice came through the curtains, sounding a bit hoarse. She had just woken up and had not even drunk any water, so her voice was not as clear and bright as usual. This voice! Chu Xiaoyang slightly knit his brows. He was a bit uncertain. In a single night, his guards had already turned the entire palace upside down, but they still could not find the black-clothed female assassin. In the entire palace, there was only one place that had not been searched. That was the Flowing Cloud Pavilion. There was only one person that had not been interrogated. That was his princess, Chen Ning. Chu Xiaoyang thought about it. From beginning to end, he had not seen what his princess face looked like. He had never looked straight at her. Whenever he looked at her from the corner of his eye, he would always see that red and white painted face that was uglier than a monkey's butt. It made him feel disgusted, and he did not want to take another look. Could it be that the girl that appeared twice in the Peach Blossom Cove was Chun Ning? This thought suddenly entered his mind, and he could not get rid of it. He endured and endured, but he finally could not suppress the doubts in his heart. He decided to personally come to the Flowing Cloud Pavilion to see what was going on. I've heard that the princess has a cold, but is it serious? This king wants to see the princess' complexion. Chu Xiaoyang dryly said. His eyes stared at the curtains as he took a step forward and pulled open the curtains. Chen Ning was lying on the bed with a blanket covering her body, only revealing her face. His face was covered with red spots that were densely packed together, looking abnormally terrifying. Seeing her face, Chu Xiaoyang's brows jumped up, and he almost spat out blood. How did your face become like this? He forced himself to take a second look, and the veins on his forehead popped out. Chen Ning innocently blinked her eyes and said with a smile, Me becoming like this, isn't it all thanks to Your Highness? If it wasn't for you kicking me into the lake, how could I become like this? I don't know what kind of bugs were in the lake, but they bit me until I had red bumps all over my body. Once the wind blows, it hurts and itches. I've been lying on this bed for 3 whole days, not daring to get off the bed or lift the curtains. Speaking of which, this is all thanks to your grace, your highness. Chun Ning, chun chun chun, chun ning, flowing chun of a flowing. Chun, 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 of. That damned woman, offending this king, this is what you deserve. Chun comma king, of this of comma, ning of chun of chun he of ning of him, king he of. From the moment he came in to the moment he left, he had only stayed for a cup of tea's worth of time. It wasn't her. The girl that threw the egg at him was not her. Chapter 174. After Chu Xiaoyang left, the first thing Chen Ning did was throw off the blankets and jump off the bed. She quickly changed out of her night clothes, but she did not wash off the red rouge on her face. She was worried that Chu Xiaoyang would come back. Young miss, young miss. Xiaoru charged in from outside. Her round little face was filled with worry. This servant went to the garden to pick some flowers. I heard from elder sister Chun Tao that His Highness came to see you. Did he make things difficult for you? Did he scold you or hit you? Oh God, young miss you. How did your face become like this? When she saw Chun Ning, her mouth turned into a circle. Then she angrily clenched her fists and angrily shouted, "Did His Highness hit you? Did he hit your face like this? His Highness, he really isn't human. He is a bastard highness. This servant will go fight with him." Her face turned red, and she turned around and rushed out like a flaming arrow. Chen Ning quickly called out to her, "Xiaoru, stop. You're not allowed to go anywhere. My face is fine. It wasn't hit by that bastard highness." "If it wasn't hit by him, then how did your face become like this?" Xiaoru looked at Chen Ning's face in pain. Her eyes were red, and she was almost crying as she blinked. "Stupid girl, it's fake. I put some rouge on it to scare that bastard highness. Otherwise, why would he leave so quickly?" Chen Ning smiled as she scratched Xiaoru's nose. "So it was done by the young miss. You scared this servant to death." Xiaoru's tears turned into a smile. Chen Ning gave a gentle laugh. "You're not allowed to make a fuss like this in the future. No matter what happens in the future, you have to remain calm. Do you understand?" "Yes, young miss. This servant will remember." Xiaoru wiped her eyes and nodded with a smile. "Did you see that bastard highness face just now?" Chen Ning giggled as she asked. When Xiaoru heard this, her brows instantly lit up. "I saw it. When the servant came back, I saw His Highness coming out. This servant was shocked and almost didn't recognize His Highness. His face was covered in bruises, like he had been punched several times." "God, young miss, was it you who hit His Highness' face?" Xiaoru looked at Xiaoru and Xiaoru. Chen Ning revealed a faint smile and did not say anything. Why did Chu Xiaoyang become like this? Of course, it was because of her thunderbolt egg. However, his injuries were much lighter than she had expected. It seemed like his martial arts were too strong, so he did not injure his vital parts. It seemed like she had to find a way to increase the power of the thunderbolt egg. After eating breakfast, Chen Ning wanted to practice the qigong she learned from Chu Xiao by last night, but she saw Xia He come in with a happy face to report to her. Reporting to the princess consort, "This is a joyous occasion. The eldest princess has come to see you. Her phoenix carriage has already arrived at our door." Her eyes were filled with light. To be able to make the eldest princess come to see her twice. The princess consort's face was quite big. This matter had already been spread throughout the king's palace, and no one would dare to bully the princess consort in the future. Perhaps even His Highness would look at the princess consort in a different light from now on. The eldest princess is here? Chen Ning thought about it and guessed the general situation. She stood up with a smile and said, "Come with me to welcome the eldest princess." This princess does not need to be welcomed. She has already come uninvited. Chapter 175. The eldest princess was wearing a new set of large red hunting clothes. She was very eye-catching and attracted everyone's attention as soon as she came in. She was in high spirits and had a heroic appearance. Not only did she have the valiance of a man, she also had the beauty of a woman. Compared to the depressed and expressionless eldest princess from last time, she was like a completely different person. Greetings to the eldest princess. The girls in the room did not dare look as they all bowed down. The eldest princess only looked at Chunning. She took a step forward and grabbed Chunning's hand, pulling her up. We are all a family, so you don't need to greet this princess like this in the future. Do you understand? The three maids kneeling on the ground couldn't help secretly clicking their tongues. The eldest princess' words were filled with intimacy. She was clearly treating the princess consort as one of her own. Chunning revealed a faint smile. Before she could say anything, the eldest princess said, "This princess has something to say to little sister Ning alone. You can all leave." Little sister Ning. They almost suspected that they had heard wrong. The eldest princess was actually calling the princess consort little sister. Wasn't this a difference in seniority? The three of them kowtowed and left. When they left, they felt like they were dreaming. In the room, the eldest princess was holding Chunning's hand, but she was smiling without saying a word. Her heart was filled with excitement, and she did not know what to say for a while. Although she did not say anything, Chunning could see that her eyes, eyebrows, and even every strand of her hair were expressing her joy. Congratulations to the eldest princess for fulfilling your wish. This minister's concubine wishes the eldest princess and young master, ye can finally be together, hoping to be together forever. Chunning once again bowed down to the eldest princess. She had already guessed everything in her heart. The eldest princess pulled her up. After a while, she excitedly said, "Good little sister, it's all thanks to the good method you taught me. My royal brother has already given the decree to marry Yi Ting Xian, and in 3 months, it will be my wedding ceremony. I came here today to thank little sister. If it wasn't for little sister, I wouldn't be here today." When Chunning heard this, she couldn't help feeling happy for the eldest princess. But hearing the eldest princess call her little sister, she couldn't help laughing. Eldest princess, this minister's concubine is your junior. According to seniority, this concubine should call you royal aunt. You calling me little sister, I'm afraid it's not appropriate, right? What's wrong with it? This princess is only a few years older than you. Could it be that you don't want to be my younger sister and want me to call you older sister? The eldest princess raised her brows in disapproval, not hiding her love for Chunning at all. This princess likes you. I like having you as my little sister. If anyone isn't willing, tell them to come find this princess. Chunning shook her head with a smile and said, "This junior does not dare." "What minister, concubine junior? You're not allowed to say anything in the future. In front of me, you are this princess little sister." The eldest princess waved her hand. Seeing that Chunning did not say anything, her brows jumped up. "Could it be that you think this princess is not worthy of you calling me sister?" Chunning really liked her forthright attitude. She came from the modern era and had received the education of equality since she was young. After transmigrating, she had to follow a bunch of messy rules and etiquette. She had long been bored to death. It was rare to meet a princess royal who did not care about etiquette. She pursed her lips into a smile and said, "If I call you elder sister, wouldn't Chu Xiao Yang have to call me aunt when he sees me?" Chapter 176. Well said. Ha, ha. This princess really wants to see that brat call you aunt. How about we go see that brat right now and have him call you aunt in front of you? She was someone who would do what she said, so she pulled Chunning out. Chunning was shocked. She did not plan on seeing Chu Xiaoyang right now. She rolled her eyes and said with a smile, "Eldest princess, I don't want to see him." "Why?" The eldest princess turned around in a daze and suddenly noticed the strange look on Chunning's face. She said in a surprised voice, "What happened to your face?" Chunning finally realized that the disguise on her face had not been washed off. She suddenly thought of something and said, "This was done by your nephew." The eldest princess immediately knit her brows. He did it? Ning shook her head. She told the eldest princess about how Chu Xiaoyang had kicked her into the lake last time, fiercely accusing Chu Xiaoyang. After the eldest princess heard this, she pulled out her sword and waved it twice. That stinky brat. He has eyes but can't see the golden jade, mistaking the rubble for a pearl. He has eyes but can't see. He ignored a good girl like you and went to spoil your little sister. Although this princess has never seen her before, I know that she's not a good thing, Humph. Little sister Ning, just you wait. This princess will go beat that brat up and help you vent your anger. If he dares to bully you again and make a move against you, just tell this princess. If this princess can't deal with him, then I'll tell my royal brother and have my royal brother beat his butt. She angrily stormed out. Ning shouted, Eldest princess, eldest princess. Then she chased after her. The eldest princess moved like she was flying, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Ning stopped, and her lips curled into a faint smile. She calmly walked back, not worried that Chu Xiaoyang would eat a beating from the eldest princess at all. He only had himself to blame. Young miss, the eldest princess expression is not good. Princess consort, the eldest princess seems to be angry. The three maids saw that the eldest princess came with a happy expression and left with an angry expression, so their hearts were filled with anxiety. They surrounded Ning and asked her with a worried expression. Ning raised her brows and said in an uncaring voice, That's right, the eldest princess is angry. The three of them looked like they were about to meet a disaster. Were you afraid of? Ning laughed. The eldest princess is angry at His Highness, not this princess. Hearing this, the three of them patted their chests and let out a sigh. But Ning's pride did not last long. After eating dinner, she heard a piece of bad news. She stumbled and gasped as she charged in. The expression on her was not good, but she was not good. She stumbled through the door, gasping for breath. The expression on her face was no longer one of surprise, but one of shock. In a single day, His Highness had come to the flowing cloud pavilion twice. This was something she would never have dared to dream about before. He come again? Chun Kien. Could it be that he had been taught a lesson by the eldest princess and was now here to denounce her? She came. Yang. Ning. Chu Xiaoyang came in like a gust of wind, appearing behind Ning with a dark expression. Ning sat in front of the table without moving, not even lifting her, but she looked at Chu Xiaoyang in the mirror and curled her lips into a smile. Your Highness has come to the flowing cloud pavilion again. Could it be that the food in the intoxicated flower pavilion is too good and your Highness has come here to digest it? Chapter 177. Chu Xiaoyang was not stupid. He immediately understood Ning's meaning and became even angrier. He clenched his fists and resisted the urge to strangle her. He angrily asked, You reported this king to my royal aunt? If it wasn't for her reporting, the eldest princess would not have left the flowing cloud pavilion to find him. First, she would have given him a torrent of curses, making him unable to understand what was going on. Before he even had time to explain, the eldest princess had already pulled out her sword and started fighting without saying a word. He did not dare to use his weapon against the eldest princess, so he could only dodge left and right. The eldest princess' clothes were filled with holes, and there were countless sword marks on his body. Even his jet black hair had been cut off, and he was in a very sorry state. It was a good thing that the eldest princess only wanted to teach him a lesson and not take his life, otherwise he would have lost an arm or a leg. Thinking about it, he knew that the culprit was without a doubt Ning. Ning lazily turned around, and her lips curled into a faint smile. She asked in reply, Reporting? Only those who have been wronged will report. Your Highness insists that this princess reported you. Could it be that your Highness has done something wrong to this princess? You. Chu Xiaoyang choked. He never knew that his princess had such a sharp tongue. But in the wedding hall, her lips were like arrows and her tongue was like a knife. Every word stabbed into his weak points, making him feel pain in his heart. This time, he had once again experienced the power of her mouth. Chu Xiaoyang knew that he could not win against her. The most important thing was that he knew that he had not been beaten unjustly. He had kicked her into the water. If she did not know how to swim, she would have already drowned in the lake. If his uncle, the emperor, knew of this matter, he would definitely give him a fierce lesson. Only when the emperor taught him a lesson, he would not be as gentle as the eldest princess. Thinking of the emperor's methods, Chu Xiaoyang's anger instantly subsided. It's already late, and this princess is going to sleep. Your Highness has not left. Could it be that you want to stay in my flowing cloud pavilion for the night? This princess does not mind, but I'm afraid that this matter will reach the ears of little sister Bai Yun in the intoxicated flower pavilion. I'm afraid little sister will be angry, and from now on, your Highness will not be able to enter little sister's bed anymore. After Chen Ning said this, she pursed her lips into a smile. Chu Xiaoyang stared at her red face, and a look of disgust flashed in his eyes. She was so ugly that he wanted to vomit just by looking at her. She still wanted him to stay the night and share the same bed with her? Keep dreaming. He snorted heavily through his nose, and without saying a word, turned around and walked away. Chen Ning smiled as she watched his back. Sure enough, it was exactly as she had expected. As long as she mentioned staying over, he would run faster than a rabbit. Did he really think that she cared about him? Come to the eastern suburb horse field tomorrow at the 5 hour. Chu Xiaoyang walked to the door and suddenly stopped, turning around and saying this in a flirtatious manner. What? Chen Ning was stunned as she looked at him in confusion. Chu Xiaoyang suddenly closed in, and a large palm grabbed her neck. Chen Ning suddenly felt like she couldn't breathe. Her eyes were wide open as she looked at Chu Xiaoyang's eyes filled with killing intent. But there was no fear in her eyes at all. This king is telling you, don't play tricks with this king. If you want to change this king's mind, there's no way. He gritted his teeth and his eyes turned red. He stared at Chen Ning like she had killed his father. You want to change this king's mind? No way. He gritted his teeth and his eyes turned red. He stared at Chen Ning like she had killed his father. She wanted him to change his mind? Was this man's brain damaged, or was he squeezed by the door? Chapter 178. Ku. She could not say anything. Her neck felt like it was being cut open, and she began to violently cough. This damn cheap man. He was using such heavy hand. Chu Xiaoyang let go, and Chen Ning escaped from his grasp. She rubbed her neck and took a breath of fresh air into her lungs. She took in deep breaths. Chen Ning, this king is telling you, no matter how many tricks you use, this king will only have Bai Yun in his heart. You should just give up on that thought. Do you think that with the eldest princess supporting you, this king will not dare to make a move against you? This king has 100 ways to make you disappear without a trace. If you want to live, then behave yourself for this king in the future. He suddenly pushed her, and Chen Ning's back slammed into the wall, causing her to grimace in pain. Chu Xiaoyang did not even look back as he left. Damn, cheap man, trash man. Chen Ning stared at the direction Chu Xiaoyang left in. She was confused at first, and then she gritted her teeth. What kind of crazy thing was this bastard doing? Which eye of his saw that she wanted to reconcile with him? Young miss, did that bastard Highness hit you? When Chu Xiaoyang left, Xiaoru was the first to charge in. Seeing the red marks on Chen Ning's neck, her eyes turned red and tears began to fall. Princess consort, this servant will immediately cook some eggs for you. Chun Tao quickly ran out. This servant will go get some hot water for you to wash your face. Xiaohi also had a look of concern on her face. Kuku, Xiaohi, you stay. Chen Ning gave a few coughs. She held Xiaoru's hand and sat down. She understood in her heart that Chu Xiaoyang did not use any heavy hand, otherwise she would have already gone to see the king of hell. But what she did not understand was why he would be so angry for no reason. Was it because he was beaten by the eldest princess? It shouldn't be, right? Xiaohi, go and find out what the eldest princess did at his highness' place, and what she said. She remembered what Chu Xiaoyang had said, telling her to go to the eastern suburbs horse track tomorrow. There had to be a reason for this. The so-called knowing oneself and knowing one's enemy was to win 100 battles. She had to find out. She did not want to die without knowing why. Xiai gave a sound of agreement and left. But the news she found made Chen Ning not know whether to laugh or cry. After the eldest princess fiercely taught Chu Xiaoyang a lesson, she gave him another strict order. She wanted him to teach Chen Ning how to ride a horse in 10 days. After 10 days, she invited Chu Xiaoyang and Chen Ning to participate in the spring hunt. Moreover, Chu Xiaoyang was not allowed to bring his concubine Chen Baiyun. After hearing this, Chen Ning did not know what to say. The eldest, Chen Ning did not know what to say. It was a pity that her good intentions were used in the wrong place and in the wrong way. Because Chen Ning had played matchmaker for the eldest princess had thought of this method to repay her. She wanted to give Chen Ning and Chu Xiaoyang a chance to be alone with each other. She wanted the two of them to be close to each other, and their misunderstandings would disappear, allowing them to reconcile. In this world, was there anything more ambiguous than teaching someone how to ride a horse? Was there anything more effective in promoting feelings? Was not. It was. Chen was. Ning was. Who wanted to let that cheap man teach her how to ride a horse? Who wanted to get back together with that bastard? Who wanted to be that cheap man's legal princess? Chapter 179. Achoo! 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 Chu Xiaoyang inexplicably sneezed a few times, waking up Chen Baiyun, who was sleeping beside him. Did your highness catch a cold? You're already so old, yet you're still kicking off the blanket. Chen Baiyun gave a gentle smile and pulled the blanket over him. Chu Xiaoyang's eyes looked at the ceiling of the tent and reached out to hug Chen Baiyun. He stroked her hair and absent-mindedly said, "Did this king wake you up? You should sleep for a bit longer. Your highness, if you have something unhappy, you can talk to Yin Er. Yin Er wants to help you solve your problems." Chen Baiyun thoughtfully leaned into his embrace. Hey. Chu Xiaoyang gave a deep laugh, but it was filled with anger. Chen Baiyun immediately understood. Did elder sister make your highness unhappy again? Your highness, if elder sister has done something wrong, Yin Er is willing to apologize for elder sister. She said this as she began to struggle. Chu Xiaoyang tightened his grip on her and unhappily said, "This matter has nothing to do with you. It was that cheap woman Chen Ning's mistake, so why do you have to take it for her?" Your highness, elder sister, she... Chen Baiyun wanted to say something, but Chu Xiaoyang's cold eyes swept over her. His eyes were filled with a cold intent. This king has already said, "You're not allowed to mention a single word about her." His voice was filled with threats and anger. "Yes, your highness." Chen Baiyun lowered her head and revealed a proud smile. "Go to sleep." Chu Xiaoyang closed his eyes, but he couldn't fall asleep no matter how he tossed and turned. His heart felt heavy, like there was a large stone pressing down on it. "Your highness." Chen Baiyun couldn't sleep either. She thought of the news that Lan Xiang had brought back today and felt her chest fill up. Thinking of how his highness was going to teach Chen Ning how to ride a horse tomorrow, she went crazy with jealousy. She hated Chen Ning and hated the eldest princess even more. She could not understand why the eldest princess liked Chen Ning and why she treated Chen Ning so well. She even ordered his highness to teach Chen Ning how to ride a horse and even arranged a hunt, but she was not allowed to follow. She had seen Chen Ning's face before. If it wasn't for Chen Ning being stupid and covering her face with red and green rouge, she would not have been able to enter his highness' eyes so easily. If his highness saw Chen Ning's face, would he still love her like this? The more she thought about it, the more uneasy she became. She bit her handkerchief and sobbed softly. "Yin Er, why are you crying for no reason?" Chu Xiaoyang heard her suppressed crying and turned her face. He saw that she was like a weeping beauty, looking very pitiful. He reached out his fingers to gently wipe away her tears, but the more he wiped, the more tears there were. He Yun's Tian, and Chu Yang's. Yun's Chu, King Yin Er Chu, Yang's Chu. Chu Yun's Ning, Ling, Yin Er, King Chu. Yin Chu. What did this king say? He didn't like you. But the eldest princess doesn't like Yun'er. The eldest princess asked you to teach elder sister how to ride a horse, but she didn't teach Yun'er. The eldest princess also told your highness not to bring Yun'er on this spring hunt, clearly showing that she hates Yun'er. I don't know how Yun'er has offended the eldest princess to make her hate Yun'er this much. Chen Baiyun's act was real, and her voice was filled with hidden bitterness. Chu Xiaoyang was also puzzled, but he had to comfort Chen Baiyun. Chapter 180. Chen Baiyun's heart instantly felt better. Her face revealed a faint smile. Your Highness, Yun'er understands, but Yun'er is still afraid. Afraid? You're afraid that this king will like that cheap woman, Qinning? You can be assured, this king is just dealing with her. I definitely won't have any feelings for that cheap woman. This king won't even look at her once. Chu Xiaoyang stroked Chen Baiyun's hair, feeling a trace of satisfaction in his heart. The woman he loved was willing to be jealous for him. That was enough to show his position in her heart. Not like that cheap woman, Qinning. From start to finish, he had a condescending look on his face. Asterisk if you didn't mention Chu Xiaoyang, Qinning was still very interested in horse riding. Before it was even 3 in the afternoon, she had already brought Xiao Ru to the eastern suburbs horse track. The so-called eastern suburbs horse track was actually on the east side of the King Ding Yuan Palace, occupying a very large area. In the stable, fine horses neighed with their heads held high. Each of them looked extraordinary. Qinning was wearing a sky blue hunting outfit today. This was specially given to her by the eldest princess. The sky blue color made her look very fresh and valiant. Her face was covered with a veil, and the veil was covered with red spots, revealing only a pair of clear, black eyes. Chu Xiaoyang did not appear. Qinning was very happy that she could not see him. It would be best if he never came. She leisurely followed the horse groom as she looked at the horses in the stable. She did not know how to judge horses, but the memory palace in her mind had records on how to judge horses. This blue and white horse has a straight back and strong limbs, running like the wind. What does the princess consort think? The horse groom had a proud look on his face as he introduced the horses in the stable to Qinning. Qinning shook her head. She did not say anything and continued to walk forward. This jade flower is very handsome, gentle, and good at jumping. How about the princess consort chooses this one? The horse groom said. Qinning looked at it and shook her head again. Then what about this mountain pill horse? It has strong muscles, strong hooves, and is good at climbing mountains. The horse groom did not give up and pulled out another good horse. Qinning still shook her head. No. The horse groom was dumbfounded. The 3 horses he picked out could be said to be the best horses in the King Ding Yuan Palace, but he never thought that Qinning would not like any of them. Of course, he did not have any good intentions in recommending these 3 horses to Qinning. Everyone in the king's palace knew that His Highness loved horses as much as his life. Almost every day, he would come to the horse farm to gallop around. These 3 horses were his most beloved horses. Each one of them had been bought by him after spending a lot of effort and money. These 3 horses, other than His Highness, no one else was allowed to ride them. There was once a new groom who secretly rode the jade flower horse for a spin in the middle of the night. He didn't think that he would be discovered by His Highness the next day. To this day, he still remembered the fate of that young driver. Whenever he thought about it, he would have nightmares. Early this morning, he had received 100 silver coins from the concubine. She only gave him a few words, "Do as you see fit." He held this piece of silver for a while and finally understood the concubine consort's meaning. His Highness had already sent the princess consort Shun to the wooden hut, but the princess had unexpectedly obtained the favor of the eldest princess. Her position in the king's palace had skyrocketed, and now there was no one in the palace that dared to offend the princess. Originally, His Highness had already sent his princess, Chan Shi, into the wooden hut, but the princess had unexpectedly received the eldest princess' favor. Her position in the palace had skyrocketed, and there was no one in the palace that dared to offend the princess. Offending the princess was the same as offending the eldest princess. How could they have the courage? Chapter 181. If he wanted to do it, he had to do it without leaving a trace and without leaving a single flaw. He first introduced the advantages of these 3 horses to the princess. If the princess really liked one of the 3 horses and rode it, angering His Highness, then the consequences would have nothing to do with him. If His Highness blamed him, he could say that the legs belonged to the princess and the horse was the one that the princess wanted to ride. Like this, he would be able to complete the concubine consort's task, and he would be able to protect himself. It was a pity that his plans were all for naught. Of the 3 horses he recommended, Chun-Ning did not like any of them. The horse groom closed his mouth. He obediently followed behind Chun-Ning, and then saw Chun-Ning stop in front of a small date red horse. "I want this one." Chun-Ning smiled as she nodded at the date red horse. The horse groom bowed in agreement, but his heart was filled with disdain. There were so many large horses that she didn't choose, and she actually chose the short, ugly, and weak horse. He remembered that this date red horse was the one that His Highness had brought with him when he bought the jade flower horse from Dewan 3 years ago. Just looking at it, he could tell that it was not a good horse, and the horse groom did not care about it. If it wasn't for His Highness' love for horses, this small and thin date red horse would have already been slaughtered and eaten by them. In these 3 years, Chu Xiaoyang had never looked at this date red horse, so it did not even have a saddle on it. It just stood alone in the shed, listlessly eating grass and swinging its tail from time to time. Its fur was sparse and did not have any luster. Compared to the shining horses that Chun-Ning had seen before, it was like heaven and earth. It could be seen that it had not entered Chu Xiaoyang's eyes. Even the horse groom had neglected it and did not care about it at all. Chun-Ning stood in front of it and carefully looked at it. The more she looked, the more she liked it. The horse groom brought over a saddle and walked into the shed to put it on the date red horse. Who would have thought that the date red horse would suddenly raise its hoof and heavily kick him? "Beast, damn beast!" The horse groom fell to the ground and loudly cursed. He quickly got up and pulled out a whip to swing at the date red horse. With a schwa sound, the whip he lashed out did not hit the date red horse, but instead hit his own face. He was stunned. When he looked over, he found that his hand holding the whip was being held by Chun-Ning. "This is a horse that I like, so how can you hit it and scold it?" Chun-Ning grabbed the whip and threw it on the ground. She coldly stared at the horse groom. She bent down to pick up the saddle that had fallen to the ground and prepared to personally put it on the date red horse. The horse groom had been hit by the whip, and his face was burning with pain. He did not stop this, and secretly hoped that Chun-Ning would also be hit by the horse's hooves. When the date red horse saw Chun-Ning approach, it began to become anxious. Its hind hooves kept flying, and it had a very unfriendly expression. "Zay, Chun is to the horse," it said. Chun-Ning smiled as she praised it. She was not in a rush to put the reins on it, but she took out a dumpling candy from her pocket. Holding it in her palm, she sent it forward. The date red horse snorted and came forward to sniff it. It first licked it in confusion before happily eating it. Soon the candy disappeared, but the date red horse did not have enough. It continued to lick her palm, feeling itchy. Chun-Ning smiled and took out another 2 dumplings to feed to the horse. Then she reached out to stroke the horse's mane. Chapter 182. Chun-Ning giggled and dodged. She did not want the horse's tongue to lick off the makeup she worked so hard to put on. The horse groom was dumbfounded seeing this. This bad-tempered horse was actually subdued by Chun-Ning with just 2 pieces of candy. This was simply too incredible. Chun-Ning had come prepared. Although she had never ridden a horse before, she knew from the books that the best way to gain a horse's liking was to give it what it liked. A horse's sense of smell was very sensitive to sweet and salty tastes, so she had prepared a bag of dumplings, and the date red horse immediately accepted her. Like the legendary 1,000-mile horse, it was the most loyal to its first master. Since the date red horse had licked her face, it had recognized her as its master. If other people wanted to use the method of feeding it candy to please the horse, it would not work. Chun-Ning put the saddle on the horse and then tightened the horse's belt. The date red horse was very docile and was very affectionate as it rubbed against her. The horse groom's jaw almost dropped when he saw this. What Qining did not know was that this date red horse was the smallest and most common horse in the horse farm. But it also had the worst temper out of all the horses. It never let anyone get close, and it did not like living in the same shed as other horses. The horse groom was too lazy to care about it, so they just locked it in a shed by itself. They would feed it grass and water whenever they wanted, and when it was dirty, they would pour buckets of water on it, leaving it to fend for itself. No one would have thought that this kind of bad horse would enter the princess' eyes. It really was the kind of person riding a horse. The princess consort was ugly, and the horse she chose was also ugly. They had all heard that the princess consort was ugly. When His Highness was marrying a concubine, the princess had appeared, scaring all the guests that came to congratulate them. Even now, this matter was still a joke among them. Qining hugged the date red horse affectionately for a while, and Xiao Ru curiously came over. She had never ridden a horse before, and seeing that the horse was very docile towards Qining, she wanted to reach out and touch the horse's back. Be careful! Before Xiao Ru's hand could touch the horse's back, the date red horse suddenly raised its head and neighed. Xiao Ru was so scared that she quickly pulled back her hand. Don't touch it yet. It's still unfamiliar with you. Wait for me to get familiar with it for a few days, and then you can get closer to it. Qining smiled as she pulled Xiao Ru behind her. Xiao Ru stuck out her tongue at the date red horse and made a face. What are you acting so proud for? It's so ugly and it's so fierce. Young miss, this servant thinks that all the other horses are better looking than this one. So why did you choose it? Xiao Ru had a puzzled look on her face. When judging a horse, it doesn't matter if it's beautiful or ugly. When it comes to heroes, it doesn't matter where they come from. You think this horse is ugly, but in my opinion, it's a rare, precious horse. Qining lovingly stroked the horse's mane. This can also be considered as a good horse. You are indeed a shallow person who has never seen the world. Suddenly, a cold laugh filled with disdain came from behind Qining. She turned around and saw that Chu Xiaoyang had unknowingly appeared 3 meters behind her. He was wearing a black robe that made him look even more handsome. The bruises on his face had mostly disappeared, and he had returned to his jade-like handsome appearance. He had a face of ridicule as he looked over the date red horse. Then he coldly looked at Qining and spat out 2 words. Chapter 183. Qining had to say that Chu Xiaoyang's face really deserved a slap. But she was not angry. Rather, she smiled and said, "This horse is very good. How about you give it to me?" "Get it to you? For what reason?" Chu Xiaoyang countered with a question. This bad horse was like a mouse that had fallen into a pot of soup. He did not care about it at all, but since Qining wanted it, he would not give it to her. "If you don't want to give it to me, then I won't give it to you. You're so stingy. Then can this princess ride it?" Qining gave an uncaring shrug. "You know how to ride a horse?" Chu Xiaoyang looked at her. "I don't, but can I learn if I don't know?" Qining revealed a bright smile. In this horse field with the blue sky and white clouds, she felt that everything was very beautiful. Of course, other than the man in front of her. "Very good. Horse groom, teach her how to mount the horse." Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold smile. He crossed his arms and stood in place, looking like he was watching a joke. Qining did not want him to teach her, so she didn't even need a horse groom. She closed her eyes and silently went through the basics of horse riding in her mind. Then she opened her eyes and revealed a sweet smile to the date red horse. "Horse, horse, you have to be obedient. If you throw me off, I won't give you any candy." She patted the horse's head. It was unknown if the horse understood her, but it gave a loud snort. "Chi!" Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold laugh. "Do you think it's a human that can understand your words?" Qining was too lazy to care about him. She grabbed the saddle, and her left foot stepped into the stirrup. She flew over and gracefully climbed onto the horse's back. Her movements were light and fast. Although the way she mounted the horse looked very beautiful, Chu Xiaoyang could tell with a single glance that she really did not know how to ride a horse. "Humph! Let's see if she doesn't fall on her butt." Who would have thought that he would be disappointed? Chen Ning's hands grabbed the horse reins, and then she let go. With a gentle shake, the date red horse began to slowly move forward. 1 lap, 2 laps. The date red horse gradually sped up. It went from a slow walk to a canter, and from a canter to a fast run. The sound of the horse's hooves rang through the green grass. Her sky blue hunting clothes fluttered in the wind, looking very heroic as she rode the horse. Xiaoru was stunned. She kept clapping her hands and cheering for Chen Ning. "Young miss, you're really beautiful," she sincerely praised. "Beautiful my ass." Chu Xiaoyang fiercely cursed in his heart. Even though he was shocked by Chen Ning's figure on the horse, just looking at her back was enough to make people's eyes light up. But when she rode the horse over, the wind lifted her veil, revealing her face that was covered in red spots. He felt his eyes hurt and quickly turned his head, not looking at her again. Chen Ning's eyes were filled with tears, but she was not willing to give him a single glance. This ugly woman really had dog-shit luck. She was actually not to look. Xiao Chun. He did not say a word as he walked to the jade flower horse's shed and jumped onto its back. The way he mounted the horse was much more graceful than Chen Ning's. The jade flower horse was truly worthy of being the best horse he had picked out. It ran as fast as lightning, and in just a short amount of time, it had already caught up to Chen Ning. Chen Ning heard the horse's hooves behind her and turned around. She saw Chu Xiaoyang's cold face as he charged at her with an expressionless face. This cheap man wouldn't be thinking of a way to harm her, right? A trace of vigilance flashed in her heart. She wanted to pull the reins and stop the date red horse. Chapter 184. Chu Xiaoyang, you bastard. Chen Ning only had time to curse out when she heard the date red horse let out a neigh. Its 4 hooves began to fly, and in the blink of an eye, it had left Chu Xiaoyang behind. The wind whistled in her ears, and she almost fell off the horse several times. It was a good thing that she held onto the saddle and lowered her body, avoiding this misfortune. If she fell off the back of a horse like this, even if she didn't die, she would be seriously injured. Chen Ning did not care about scolding Chu Xiaoyang anymore. She was only thinking about how to maintain her balance and not fall off the horse. The date red horse seemed to be in a frenzy as its 4 hooves flew into the air. Chen Ning did not know whether to laugh or cry on the horse's back. This feeling was just too exciting. She did not know if she should be happy that she had chosen a good horse or complain about how this horse was running so fast. Chu Xiaoyang reined in the jade flower horse and narrowed his eyes as he looked at the date red horse running across the field. He also looked at the light blue figure that seemed like it would fall off at any moment. Who would have thought that this ugly woman would be so lucky to have found such a rare divine chariot? This date red horse that had short legs and a thin body was actually faster than his jade flower horse by a bit. "Your Highness, I beg you to save my family's young miss and the princess consort. She is about to fall off the horse. Your Highness, I beg you to save her." Xiaoru ran over and kneeled in front of his horse, crying and begging. Her face was covered in tears, and she was gasping for breath from crying. Chu Xiaoyang sat high up on the horse's back and did not even look at Xiaoru. His lips curled, and he casually said, "What are you afraid of? She won't die." The eldest princess asked this king to teach her how to ride a horse. Which one of the people that learn how to ride a horse have not fallen off the back of a horse before? She will naturally learn after falling a few times. "Your Highness, the young miss is your princess consort. Do you really have the heart to see her die in front of you?" Xiaoru's throat choked up as she stared at Chu Xiaoyang with teary eyes. If she really falls to her death, this king will give her a grand funeral. Chu Xiaoyang gave a cold laugh and turned the horse around. He did not look at Chen Ning again and rode the horse back to the stable. He jumped off the horse and moved quickly. He brushed the dust off the corner of his robe, and with his hands behind his back, he leisurely left the horse field. His cold and emotionless words floated into Chen Ning's ears one word at a time. "You want me to die? In your dreams." Chen Ning gritted her teeth and said, "Xiaoru." She lowered her body and tightly clung to the horse's back. She tightly hugged the horse's neck with both hands and refused to fall off the horse. The date red horse ran faster and faster as it charged into the fence surrounding the horse field. In that instant, Xiao Ru's heart jumped up. Then she closed her eyes and shouted, "It's over." The young miss must have fallen to her. Xiao 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 for Tian. She only heard the groom beside her suck in a breath of cold air. When she opened her eyes again, she found that the date red horse and the young miss on its back had disappeared. "Young miss." Xiao Ning to out. Xiao Ru grabbed the horse groom's collar. She screamed out as her eyes turned red. The horse groom looked in the direction of the fence with a look of amazement. He raised his right hand in a daze and swallowed a mouthful of saliva before saying that the princess consort's horse has jumped over the fence and charged outside. Outside. Chapter 185. The fence around the horse track was as tall as a person, and normal horses would not be able to jump over it. Even the jade flower horse that was well-trained and good at jumping would not dare jump over such a high fence. But that date red horse had actually jumped over it. The horse groom stood there rubbing his eyes, not daring to believe what he was seeing. Xiao Ru let go of him and chased after Chen Ning. She was crying as she ran. Young miss, you have to be all right. Young miss." Chen Ning naturally did not hear her cries. She had already been brought several hundred meters away by the date red horse. When the date red horse charged at the fence, her heart almost jumped out of her chest. She thought that she would not be able to escape this disaster, but at this moment of life and death, the date red horse suddenly jumped over the fence and landed on the ground. Then the horse did not stop and charged in the street outside the fence. Horse, you almost scare me half to death. Can you obediently stop?" Chen Ning had just calmed down from her shock. She patted the horse's ears and said this, wanting to appease this crazy horse. She guessed that ever since this date red horse came to the horse track, it had been looked down upon. It had never let loose like this before, so once it ran, it would naturally be in high spirits. But now, the place it was running to was not the spacious and empty stud field, but the crowded street. She desperately pulled on the reins to slow the horse down. But at this moment, a little boy was setting off firecrackers, which coincidentally landed under the date red horse's hooves. With a pung sound, the date red horse was frightened. Not only did it not slow down, it ran even faster. This is bad. The horse was frightened. Chen Ning knew that horses were most afraid of being frightened. It would not care about where it was going or where it was going. It did not care if there were people or cliffs in front of it. It would just charge straight ahead. "Get out of the way. Everyone, get out of the way. This horse is frightened." She used all her strength to shout from the back of the horse. The horse's speed became faster and faster. The people on the street began to flee in panic as they cried out in fear. Chen Ning forcefully gritted her teeth and desperately pulled on the reins. The date red horse's speed did not decrease at all as it charged into the crowd in front of her. "It's over." Chen Ning knew that once she charged into the crowd, she did not know how many innocent people would suffer, but she could not help herself. The date red horse was no longer under her control. At this critical moment, a black figure suddenly charged out from the side and landed right in front of the date red horse. Seeing that he was about to be sent flying by the wind like horse, the people on the side all let out shocked cries and covered their faces, not daring to look. Chen Ning also sucked in a cold breath. She saw that the man was not in a hurry as he reached out to grab the horse's reins. His right hand slapped the horse's head. The date red horse's front legs buckled and it fell to the ground. Chen Ning was thrown off the back of the horse by the inertia. The black-clothed man flew up and grabbed her. He spun a few times in the air, dispersing the force of the impact. His movements were graceful and beautiful as he brought her to the ground. The person stopped the horse and saved someone. This series of dangerous actions had happened in a short time. In the blink of an eye, everyone saw that the black-clothed man had successfully stopped the horse. They instantly erupted into thunderous applause. The black-clothed man acted like he did not hear anything. His deep eyes stared at Chen Ning in his arms, and his face was still expressionless. Chapter 186. Chen Ning had escaped from death. She came back to her senses and looked at the man that had saved her. She just happened to meet the black-clothed man's eyes. "It's you," she softly cried out. The black-clothed man that had stopped the horse at this critical moment was actually the person she had met several times. "Qian Duo, you recognize me?" The black-clothed man's eyes sparkled. His eyes revealed a trace of surprise, and then an indescribable killing intent flashed through them. Chen Ning felt his arms around her tighten, and she did not miss the killing intent that flashed in his eyes. She immediately understood what was going on. "I don't recognize you." She turned her head and did not look at him. The veil on her face had disappeared in the mad gallop of the horse, revealing her face, which was covered in rouge and blotches. She believed that the black-clothed man would not recognize her. It just so happened that she did not want to have anything to do with him. "So it's you. Miss, we meet again," the black-clothed man suddenly said. His eyes sparkled as he recognized who she was. He could not remember what she looked like, but he firmly remembered her clear and bright eyes. It was this pair of eyes of hers that had been deeply imprinted in his mind ever since he had seen them once. He had never forgotten them ever since. But after saying goodbye in the restaurant, he had never seen her again. Only the heavens knew that in order to find her, he had turned the entire capital city upside down. That pitiful Shaoxi, he was still guarding the street where they had their fortune-telling stall. He had probably turned into stone by now. However, he had never imagined that he would be able to save her today by chance. Wasn't this fate given to them by the heavens? "That's right, we meet again. It seems like we are fated." Chen Ning giggled as she turned around. Since he had recognized her, she could not pretend that she did not know him. After all, he had given her a bag of gold ingots. If she pretended not to know him, wouldn't he think that she was trying to steal his gold? The black-clothed man did not seem to like talking too much. He just nodded and put her down. His eyes fell onto the date red horse, and he praised, "Good horse." The date red horse had been slapped to the ground by him, but it was not injured at all. It came to Chen Ning's side and rubbed against her. It kept sticking out its tongue to lick her face, as if it was apologizing. Although Chen Ning had almost lost her life because of this horse, she knew that it had nothing to do with the horse. It was all because of Chu Xiaoyang's whip. "Chu Xiaoyang, bastard!" She angrily cursed in her heart. His whip had not only taken her life, it had also taken the lives of many innocent people. If it weren't for the black-clothed man stopping the horse, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Thinking about it now, Chen Ning broke out in a cold sweat. "Thank you. Not only did you save me, you also saved all these citizens." Chen Ning looked up and sincerely thanked the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man was stunned as he stared straight at her face. His eyes couldn't hide the astonishment in his eyes. You? He exhaled and frowned slightly. "Why did you paint your face in such a weird way? What happened to my face?" Chen Ning reached out to touch it and felt her hand become wet. She finally realized that the rouge on her face had been licked clean by the date red horse. This rouge had a sweet smell to it. No wonder the horse liked to lick her face. Chapter 187. Although she had revealed her true appearance in front of the black-clothed man, Chen Ning did not care. As long as Chu Xiaoyang did not see her face, it was fine. "This is already the second time you've saved me, so I owe you 2 favors. I'll pay you back in the future. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first." Chen Ning felt that her face was wet and uncomfortable. She did not want to stay outside any longer, so she pulled the date red horse and left. The black-clothed man had no expression on his face, but he looked at her back with a thoughtful expression. He couldn't help rubbing his chin. Every time she saw him, she would avoid him, not even willing to say a single word to him. Could it be that she didn't like him that much? Although he did not know that the person he saved was her, and he did not want her to repay him. But for her to just leave like this, wasn't she looking down on him too much? The black-clothed man had never been looked down on like this before. His heart filled with dissatisfaction, and with a flash of his body, he appeared in front of Chen Ning. "Miss, wait a minute. Io." Chen Ning did not think that he would suddenly appear, so she bumped into his chest. His chest was firm and full of elasticity, giving off a unique man's aura that entered her nose. "Do you have something else?" She looked up and met the black-clothed man's deep abyss eyes. Her heart skipped a beat. He wouldn't be pestering her again, would he? "Miss, are you planning on leaving like this?" The black-clothed man cleared his throat and asked in a questioning voice. "Then what does the young master want?" Chen Ning raised her brows and revealed a faint smile. "Could it be that the young master wants me to repay you with my body and repay you for saving my life?" She remembered the last time she mentioned the words "repay with my body." The man looked like he had been bitten by a snake. Who would have thought that after hearing this, the black-clothed man would remain silent? His deep eyes stared right at her like he was trying to see through her. I was just joking. Young master, please don't mind. How about I invite the young master to a meal? I wonder if the young master is willing to give me face?" She quickly changed the topic. If this man just nodded his head and agreed, she would really be shooting herself in the foot. "All right." The black-clothed man seemed to be satisfied. He moved to the side and moved out of the way. Chen Ning let out a sigh of relief. This black-clothed man's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. She could not see through him. Although she could see through other people's hearts through their expressions, she could not see through this black-clothed man at all. There was no expression on his face. Other than his eyes that could move, his face was completely stiff. Last time young master left in a hurry and didn't have time to taste the 4 dishes. "How about we go to Tai He floor again?" Chen Ning suggested. "All right." The black-clothed man nodded his head and walked in the direction of the Tai He floor. Chen Ning bit her lips and looked at the man's tall and straight back. She knew that she couldn't escape this, so she could only sigh and follow behind the black-clothed man. A breeze came and Ning and felt. She was feel it Chun. She Ning as she could. As is possible. She still had a lingering fear when she thought of the dangerous situation just now. She stared at the black-clothed man's back. This Qianduo's skills were really amazing. Not only was his Qigong good, his internal energy was also unfathomable. Chapter 188. The legendary top experts. Were they referring to people like this black-clothed man? There really was always someone better. This black-clothed man's martial arts were 10 times stronger than that bastard Chu Xiaoyang. No, 100 times stronger. If he was willing to work for her, she would not have to worry about Chu Xiaoyang causing trouble for her in the future. Once this thought entered Chen Ning's mind, it could not be erased. Unknowingly, an evil smile appeared on her lips. The black-clothed man walked in front, but he suddenly felt a prick on his back. He suddenly turned around and saw the smile on Chen Ning's face. His heart turned cold, like he had seen a weasel greeting a chicken. Why was this girl's smile so strange? "I'm funny." He knit his brows and said in a low voice. "Of course not. Not funny at all." Chen Ning quickly put away the smile on her face and said with a serious expression. She couldn't let the black-clothed man notice her careful thoughts and become vigilant. "Humph." The black-clothed man gave a cold snort and turned to walk forward, but all he could see was the evil smile on Chen Ning's face. This girl wouldn't be thinking of some kind of scheme against him, right? He secretly became alert in his heart. The two of them arrived in front of the Tai He floor. Seeing the long line of people in front of the door, Chen Ning regretted her previous suggestion. Why did she choose Tai He floor out of all the other restaurants? Now that her makeup had been licked by the date Red Horse, the shopkeeper who judged people by their appearance did not recognize her. Naturally, she would not enjoy the same preferential treatment as last time. But if they continued to line up like this, perhaps they wouldn't be able to eat even if they waited until tomorrow morning. "How about we go to another place to eat?" she suggested in a slightly embarrassed manner. The black-clothed man softly looked at her and walked into the Tai He floor. 3rd floor, private room. As soon as he entered, he threw a silver bill to the shopkeeper. Ning did not even see the amount on it, but she saw the shopkeeper's face turn into a flower. Yes, yes. Esteemed guest, please come in. This Richie Rich, he really was rich. Taking out silver bills was as natural as a normal person taking out paper. Ning let out a sigh. The so-called money could make the devil push the millstone. She had actually forgotten this unbreakable truth from ancient times. The waiter attentively came up to take the horse in her hands. This horse has a bad temper. Tie it up for me. Don't let other horses bully it. Ning said in a worried voice. Yes, yes, yes. Esteemed guest, please be assured. The waiter glanced at the date red horse. He thought to himself that such an ugly horse, if it was tied up with the other guests' horses, the other guests would probably not be happy. This time the shopkeeper did not waste any time and personally brought the black-clothed man and Ning to the private room on the third floor. After the two of them had ordered, he left. There was only Ning and the black-clothed man left in the room. Ning found that the black-clothed man did not like to talk, and that clever Xiao Si was not here. In an instant, a silent atmosphere filled the air between the two of them. Young master, please wait here. I want to wash my face, and I'll be right back. Ning was too bored. After a while, she finally opened her mouth. Ning, who came from the modern era, was used to washing her hands before eating. Especially when she thought about how her face was covered in the horse's saliva, she did not have any appetite to eat. Of course, she wanted to find a reason to leave so she wouldn't have to sit here and stare at the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man gave her a non-committal look. Chapter 189. What a joke. Who says this girl doesn't have money? Even if I don't have as much money as you, I still have enough money to treat you to a meal. Ning took out an embroidered purse from her chest and threw it onto the table in a very extravagant manner. This purse contained all of her wealth. She could be considered a master with 4,000 silvers, so she could not let the black-clothed man look down on her. The black-clothed man seriously picked up the purse and looked at the money inside. Then he looked up and softly said, "It's not enough." "How could it not be enough? Didn't you just order 4 dishes? Even if it was 1,000 silvers per dish, it would still be enough." Ning looked at him with a suspicious gaze. Naturally, the money for the dishes is enough, but this miss might not know this. Entering this room requires 5,000 silvers, so I say that this miss doesn't have enough money. The black-clothed man calmly said, 5,000 silvers? Isn't this room fee too expensive? This is simply ripping people off. Ning was filled with indignation. But I believe in the miss' sincerity. Miss, go wash your face. I'll wait for the miss here. The black-clothed man had a calm expression as he spoke in a polite manner. He picked up the teapot on the table and poured some water. After making tea, he brought it to his lips and sniffed it before gently sipping it. His posture was very elegant and noble. If it wasn't for the cold aura that was constantly being released from his body, Ning would have suspected that he was a young master from a rich family. Only a person who had received a good upbringing from a young age could be this calm, gentle, and calm. Every move he made was pleasing to the eye. If Miss doesn't want to wash her face, how about you sit down and have some tea? This one believes that my face is not as good looking as Miss. If Miss keeps staring at me like this, I'm afraid that my face will be melted by Miss. The black-clothed man drank the rest of the tea in one gulp. He looked at her from the corner of his eyes and teased her with this sentence. Ning found that she had unknowingly fallen into a daze. Her face turned slightly hot as she pushed open the door. She found a waiter and brought a basin of water. She walked over to the patio to wash her face, but when she looked down, she was instantly shocked. The clear water reflected her face. After the date Red Horse had licked her face a few times, it had become strange. Even she almost spat out when she saw this kind of face. She thought of the black-clothed man's calm expression when he looked at her, and she was filled with admiration. It was really hard for him to remain unmoved in the face of such an ugly face. She quickly washed her face and returned to the private room, feeling refreshed. Hearing the sound of her entering the door, the man in black did not look up. He poured a cup of fragrant tea and said, "Try this tea. It's just right." A fragrant tea smell filled her nose. Ning never knew how to taste tea, but she couldn't help praising it. Such fragrant tea. She picked up the cup and drained it in one gulp, as if she was drinking wine. A smile flashed in the black-clothed man's eyes. He looked at Ning's drinking posture and knew that she didn't know how to taste tea at all. In this era, scholars and refined guests all regarded tea as a kind of elegant behavior. Making tea was particular about heat control and hand gestures. When drinking tea, one should also savor it slowly. Holding the cup, one would first observe the color of the tea, then smell the fragrance of the tea, and then drink it slowly, just like drinking fine wine, until one was slightly drunk. Only the common people would be like Ning, drinking it all in one gulp without even looking at it. Chapter 190. This was the fourth time he had seen her. The first time was on a noisy street. She had mocked him, and he had turned around to look at her, but he did not have a special impression of her. The second time he saw her, she was divining words for someone. Her confident manner had attracted his attention. He found that her face was very normal and her skin was yellow. Only that pair of limpid eyes were deeply imprinted in his mind. The third time he saved her from the back of the horse. Her face full of red spots gave him a fright. Fortunately, he had excellent control, so he didn't reveal anything strange. But the person in front of him was like a completely different person. He almost did not recognize her. Her face was clean without a single trace of makeup on it, but it was like a warm spring breeze blowing into the room. That soft skin was as clear as jade, and there were still droplets of water on her face. Her eyebrows were like crescent moons, and her eyes were like paint. There was a faint blush on her cheeks that was as delicate as a hibiscus that had just come out of the water. The petals still had drops of dew on them. This made his eyes, who had seen a lot of makeup in women, light up. He never thought that there would be this kind of natural beauty in this world. "Young master, if you keep staring at me like this, I'm afraid my face will be melted by the young master." Ning saw him staring at her and revealed a faint smile. Then she used the words he had just said to tease her. "Cuckoo." The black-clothed man had a sip of tea in his mouth, and when he heard this, he choked on it and couldn't help coughing. He lowered his head and felt his face heat up. He never thought that there would be a day when he would be teased by someone. This girl really was bold, but he could not be angry. His slender fingers gently stroked the smooth teacup as he pondered how to tell her the reason for his visit without being rejected by her. Ning was also curiously looking at him. She found that his eyebrows were very thick and his eyelashes were very long. When he looked down and no longer looked at her with an aggressive gaze, the pressure on her instantly decreased by quite a bit. She noticed that his fingers were touching the teacup. The cup was already empty, but he did not notice it. This meant that he was thinking about a problem, and this problem had to be related to her. He did not look up at her, meaning that he had not thought of how to ask her. Ning revealed a faint smile. She knew that her judgment was not wrong. She leaned back in her chair and poured herself a cup of tea. Her expression was relaxed as she quietly waited for him to speak. "To esteemed guests, the dishes are here." Before the man in black could say anything, the waiter opened the door and served the dishes they had ordered. When the first dish was brought over, it immediately attracted the black-clothed man's attention. Before the dishes even entered the door, a special aroma wafted into his nostrils. The snow-white porcelain plate was covered with emerald green branches that overlapped and formed what looked like a bird's nest. A young pigeon that was roasted to a brilliant golden yellow lay cross-legged in its nest with its neck stretched towards the sky. Its appearance was unique, and at first glance it really did look like a phoenix. The man in black laughed involuntarily. "Is this the phoenix's return to the nest?" The waiter smiled as he nodded. His face was filled with pride. As long as this dish was placed in front of the guests, there was no one who wouldn't praise it. In this period of time, the praises he had heard almost filled his ears. Chapter 191. The waiter was very unconvinced and couldn't help but say, "Esteemed guest, you may not know this, but this dish is the treasure of our restaurant. No one in the entire capital can eat it. Esteemed guest, as long as you try it, you will never forget its wonderful taste. It only has the shape, but not the spirit, so it can't be considered number one in the world. You can leave." The black-clothed man did not even look at the waiter. The waiter couldn't help secretly clicking his tongue. He thought that this guest really had a big tone. He did not dare to argue back and offend the esteemed guest, so he left with a stomach full of disapproval. Chen Ning's eyes looked over the black-clothed man's face. From this man's reaction, he really did not put this dish that everyone praised in his eyes. However, if it was a recipe that she had written, how could it be a normal dish? She did not say a word and picked up the small silver knife on the side of the plate. She gently cut off a small piece of golden pigeon skin and covered it with a layer of fruit jam. Then she picked up a thin piece of cake and rolled it into a small spring roll. She placed it on the plate in front of the black-clothed man. Her fingers were nimble and graceful, just like a beautiful orchid blooming in her palm. The black-clothed man couldn't help being entranced and only reacted when she placed the rolled-up piece of cake in front of him. He stared at the small cake in the plate for a long time. It was like it was not food, but rather a caterpillar. "If you don't like it, I'll eat it myself." Chen Ning was a little annoyed. This black-clothed man did not seem like the type of person that would waste time, so why did it take so much effort to eat? She reached out her hand to take it. "I'll eat it." The black-clothed man elegantly picked up the roll and placed it in his mouth without any hesitation. He didn't have much interest in the plain-looking burrito, but because she was the one who made it, he didn't want to reject her good intentions. However, after chewing a few times, a strange look appeared in his eyes. There was no need to say the word crispy, but the strange thing was that every time he bit, there would be a different taste. There was crispness in the crispness, sweetness in the crispness, and sweetness in the sweetness. It was clear, but not greasy. This was a taste that he had never tasted before. After tasting it once, he could not forget it. For a moment, he was a little reluctant to swallow the delicious food in his mouth. His tongue could be said to have tasted all the delicacies in the world. There was almost nothing that he could eat a second time. But after he finished eating the small cake, he felt like he was still not satisfied. His eyes swept over Chen Ning. Chen Ning naturally understood the meaning behind his gaze. It meant he still wanted more. He wanted it, but she was not willing to serve him. This man was really arrogant. He even wanted someone to bring food to him. She wasn't even his servant. If you want to eat, then do it yourself. Chen Ning skillfully rolled up a crispy pancake for herself. Then she pushed the small silver knife in front of him and ate it with relish. The black-clothed man's lips twitched as he stared right at Chen Ning. Very good. This girl was really bold. She even dared to refuse his request. Chen Ning did not even look at him as she finished eating the biscuit. Seeing that he was not moving, she took the silver knife and rolled up another piece. She completely ignored the black-clothed man's eyes that were filled with anticipation as she directly placed it into her own mouth. The black-clothed man could not help but feel the veins on his forehead pop out. Delicious. This phoenix nest is really delicious. Why aren't you eating it? Do you not like it? All right, then I'll have to eat it myself. Chapter 192. Gone. The black-clothed man stared at the bare pigeon and couldn't help secretly swallowing a mouthful of saliva. The phoenix's nest just now had completely aroused the hunger in his stomach, and he actually began to feel hungry. Goo-loo-loo. A strange sound suddenly rang out. Chen Ning and the black-clothed man were both stunned. Following that, the black-clothed man quickly turned his head, and his right hand that was hidden in his sleeve tightly clenched into a fist. Damn it, this disappointing stomach. His ears began to burn, and this was the first time in his life that he had felt extremely embarrassed. His stomach growling wasn't anything, but it was growling in front of a young girl like Chen Ning. He couldn't help but feel his ears turn red from embarrassment. When Chen Ning saw this, she secretly found it funny. She never thought that this black-clothed man, who always had a cold expression on his face, would actually feel shy. What did a small thing like his stomach growling count for? But he was actually so embarrassed that his ears turned red. This was truly interesting, truly interesting. Although it was funny, Ning did not dare laugh. Otherwise, this black-clothed man would become angry from embarrassment and pull out his blade. She was not his match at all. She could only look around and pretend not to hear anything. Why isn't the waiter here yet? My stomach is already growling from hunger. After Ning said this, the black-clothed man suddenly felt less embarrassed. His red ears slowly returned to their normal color. To esteemed guests, I made you wait. The phoenix egg is here. A loud and clear voice rang out. The waiter walked in with a large plate in his hands, but it was covered with a cover. After tasting the phoenix's nest, the black-clothed man was filled with anticipation for this phoenix egg. But when the waiter opened the cover, the anticipation in his eyes instantly turned to disappointment. This was a phoenix egg. There was a peeled egg on the smooth, white plate. Other than being a bit bigger, there was nothing special about it at all. The waiter had been humiliated by the black-clothed man last time. This time, after serving the dishes, he retreated without saying a word. Miss, is this the phoenix egg you made according to your recipe? The black-clothed man looked at the egg up and down, left and right, but he could not see anything special about it. It couldn't even compare to the phoenix's nest from before. He even suspected that the waiter had given them a fake egg. Woo, perhaps it's a fake phoenix egg. Won't we know once we cut it open? Ning saw the doubt in his eyes. She raised the little silver knife with a smile and gently slashed at the egg, splitting it in half. A strange fragrance came out. The black-clothed man couldn't help taking a deep sniff. This fragrance was even more enticing than the phoenix's nest, making him drool. He looked at the plate again and saw that the two halves of the phoenix egg were brightly colored. There were orange-red, orange-yellow, and light yellow colors alternating. Sure enough, it looked like a young phoenix was curled up inside the egg. Exquisite, truly unique. The black-clothed man couldn't help praising it. Ning just revealed a faint smile and did not say a word. She cut off a small piece of the phoenix egg and slowly tasted it in her mouth. She only remembered how to make this dish, but she had never tried it before. She didn't think that the chefs of the Taihe floor would be so good. The dish they made was exactly the same as the legendary phoenix egg. Woo! Chapter 193. The black-clothed man stared at her without blinking. The way she ate was not refined, but it was very natural. It couldn't help attracting his gaze. She had the innocence of a child, and when she ate, her eyes slightly narrowed. She had a look of enjoyment on her face, as if she was eating the most delicious food in the world. Seeing her eat, he suddenly felt hungry. He couldn't help secretly swallowing a mouthful of saliva. When he came back to his senses, he found that most of the phoenix egg on the plate had disappeared. He had never tasted such a delicious thing before. If he didn't make a move now, perhaps he wouldn't be able to eat a single bite. The black-clothed man stared at Ning. Did this girl not understand the meaning of modesty? Ning finally looked up at him and said in a strange voice, "Young master, is there something on my face? Why are you only looking at me and not eating?" Humph. It's not that I'm not eating, it's that you're eating all the food. The man silently cursed as his eyes fell onto the small silver knife in Ning's hand. Ning suddenly realized and placed the small silver knife in front of him. She pursed her lips into a smile and said, Sorry. The black-clothed man picked up the silver knife and elegantly cut off a small piece of the phoenix egg. He placed it in his mouth and slowly chewed it. His eating was much more refined than Ning's. Each of his actions was filled with nobility and good upbringing. He sat very straight and carefully chewed each mouthful of food before swallowing it. He did not make a single sound when he chewed. Ning held her chin and habitually observed his actions. Her intuition told her that this black-clothed man's background was definitely not normal. The two dishes that the waiter brought over were squirrel mandarin fish and a sweet soup. The squirrel mandarin fish was not a real squirrel. It was just a strange one. The fish meat was fragrant and tender, with a sweet and sour taste. But when it landed on the black-clothed man's tongue, he only received one word of evaluation: not bad. What truly stunned him was the sweet soup. The soup was sweet, and there were snow-white osmanthus petals floating on top. There were several dozen red cherries floating in the soup. He scooped up a cherry and placed it in his mouth. He gently chewed it, and it let out a crisp gee sound. The black-clothed man was stunned. He gently chewed it a few more times, and the gee sound rang out again. His eyes filled with a smile as he looked at Chun Ning. Are the cherries embedded with rock candy? Chun Ning smiled and nodded. She threw the cherries into her mouth and chewed them like peanuts, letting out crisp sounds. These 4 recipes were something that she had obtained by chance from a book. She never thought that the Tai floor chef would be able to cook them, and they would be this delicious. This was completely out of her expectations. It really is a nice-looking, tasty soup. Chun Ning's eyes were filled with admiration as she looked at Chun Ning's eyes. The man put down the soup and gave a gentle sigh. His eyes filled with praise as he looked at Chun Ning. These 4 dishes were not only a feast for his eyes, but also a feast for his mouth. After eating and drinking, what matter does young Master Money have with me? Can you just say it now? Chun Ning was too lazy to beat around the bush with the other side, so she directly asked this question. Young Master Money, I've already eaten and drunk my fill. My surname is not Chien. The corner of the man in black's mouth twitched. Did this girl really think she was a fool with a lot of money? Oh, then may I ask for young Master Money's name? Chun Ning did not mind it and casually asked. Chapter 194. After Chun Ning asked this, she realized that it didn't make sense. She couldn't help giving an apologetic smile to the black-clothed man. Mo, the black-clothed man, treated his words like gold. So it's young Master Mo. Chun Ning looked at the man's black clothes and secretly thought that it was no wonder he liked wearing black. It was because his surname was Mo, the forest of ink, the source of ink. Young Master Mo's surname is very good, and you are like your surname. With a single glance, you can tell that you have the aura of a scholar. Chun Ning habitually commented. She remembered that she still needed his help, so she gave him a few words of praise. The black-clothed man couldn't help laughing. My name is a single character Chuan. He deliberately said. Woo, the surname is good and the name is even better. The river flows endlessly, rushing into the sea. This Chuan has the power to flow endlessly. Adding this young master's surname together, it means that you are as knowledgeable as the sea. Young Master Mo must be a well-read scholar. Chun Ning spoke without any hesitation. Mo Chuan almost spat out the mouthful of tea he had just drunk. This girl's mouth was truly powerful. When she spoke, she was like a porcupine covered in thorns, hurting wherever she stabbed. But when she praised someone, it really made people feel like they were sitting on a spring breeze. Although he knew that she was just spouting nonsense, it still made his mood very good. His eyes were filled with a smile as he asked, May I ask for this girl's name? As soon as he said this, he immediately felt regret. This girl's name, was it something he could casually ask for? As expected, Chun Ning shook her head and said, It's not convenient for me to tell you. Not only was Mo Chuan not angry, he let out a sigh of relief, secretly regretting his rudeness. Young Master Mo, this is the 3rd time we've met today. You've saved me twice, and we've even eaten together, so we can't be considered strangers anymore. If you have something to say, then you can honestly say it. You're looking for me because you need my help, right? When Mo Chuan was thinking about what to say, Chun Ning suddenly looked right at him. Her eyes were so clear that he could see the bottom of it, sparkling like stars, as if she could see through his heart. He was stunned for a bit before slowly nodding. This girl really did have a pair of eyes that could see through a person's heart. It seems like he did not find the wrong person. There are no outsiders here. So can young Master Mo speak? Chun Ning looked away, no longer looking him in the eye. His eyes were bottomless, like the unfathomable deep sea. Just a moment ago, when they looked at each other, she felt a huge pressure. There are too many people here. Mo Chuan only said these words and didn't say anything else. His gaze swept across the surroundings indifferently, his meaning self-evident. Chen Ning was instantly enlightened. She had thought that there was no one here, but for an internal energy expert like Mo Chuan, his hearing must be better than a normal person's. If there was an internal energy expert nearby, then their conversation would be leaked. It could see that what Mo wanted to tell her about. T was Chun. What? T Chen Chun T to him. T Ning T. T. Mo Chun. T's words. T test Chen's Mo T. You don't seem like the kind of person that would casually ask for help. Since you can find me, that means you believe that I have the ability to help you. The problem is whether or not I'm willing to agree. Now that I've agreed, but in return, I want young Master Mo to help me with something. It had to be said that Chun Ning's words were all on Mo Chuan's mind. Chapter 195. What do you want me to help you with? Mo Chuan asked. He was very smart, not mentioning whether he would agree or not. I've encountered a bit of trouble, so I want to ask young Master Mo to protect me for a while. Chen Ning looked into his eyes, not avoiding them at all. She knew that Mo Chuan would not easily trust people. The more direct and straightforward she was, the easier it would be for her to gain his trust. Trouble? What trouble? Mo Chuan thought of her suddenly appearing in the busy street and her startled horse. His brows slightly knit. Someone wants to harm you? Smart. Chen Ning slapped the table and praised with a smile. Tell me that person's name. No matter who he is, I will make him disappear. Mo Chuan softly said. An imperceptible coldness and murderous intent flashed through his eyes, and his slender fingers unconsciously tightened. Chen Ning's heart skipped a beat. His words were very domineering. Without a strong confidence, he could not say this kind of domineering words. But I don't want him to die yet. She shook her head with a faint smile. Why? He revealed a look of confusion. Someone wanted to kill her, and she still had a smile on her face. Who is this person? This is a long story. I'll slowly tell you when I have time. This is my condition. I don't know if young Master Mo is willing to agree. You've saved me before, so I should help you unconditionally. But if I die, I'm afraid I won't be able to help young Master Mo. Don't you think so? She looked at him with a smile, as if she was sure that he would agree. Mo Chuan was silent. He finally understood what she meant. She wanted him to stay by her side and protect her. This was simply laughable. He was prepared to reject her without even thinking. Did this girl know who he was? She actually dared to make this kind of bold request. His brows knit together, and he was about to explode with anger. AI, young Master Mo, if you have something to say, then say it properly. Don't be angry. If you're not willing, of course I won't force you. Chen Ning said before he could become angry. His killing intent was very heavy. She felt a chill run down her spine, and goosebumps appeared on her body. Mo Chuan took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart. He slowly said, I only know how to kill people. I don't know how to protect people. Kill people? Chen Ning's pupils shrank, and she blurted out, Then you're an assassin? No wonder his body would unconsciously emit a murderous aura and chill. So that's why. The so-called assassin was one of the oldest professions in human history. Chen Ning's mind was filled with many famous poems describing assassins. For example, the wind is howling, the water is cold, the hero will never return. Also, kill a man in 10 steps, invincible for 1,000 miles. The corner of Mo Chuan's eyes twitched. Mo Chuan. He want to say he Chuan. The more ambiguous he was, the more she would think that her judgment was correct. Chen Ning suddenly felt a cold air float over her head. The temperature in the room instantly dropped by several degrees, making all the beautiful words about assassins disappear from her mind. Those were all descriptions in books, but in front of her was a living assassin, the legendary assassin that killed people without spilling blood, 1,000 miles without leaving a trace. She rubbed her arms, which were already covered in goosebumps. Chapter 196. Assassins were people who were quick to repay favors and were cold-blooded, drawing their blades without saying a single word. She really was brave, actually wanting an assassin to be her bodyguard. Her head must have been kicked by a donkey to think of this kind of stupid idea. That, young Master Mo, just pretend I didn't say anything. We'll meet again in the future. Ning felt like she was sitting on pins and needles. She quickly stood up and turned to leave. After leaving the room, she secretly looked back and saw Mo Chuan sitting there with an expressionless face. His eyes were cold and dark. She shivered again and quickly walked away. Holding the date red horse, she walked a long distance in one breath before Ning felt her body warm up a bit. So dangerous. She almost brought an assassin home. She stuck out her tongue and suddenly felt a chill run down her back, like a cold wind had just passed by. It wouldn't be that Mo Chuan following me again, right? She muttered in a small voice. Looking back, her face instantly turned dark. Mo Chuan's tall and elegant figure appeared in her line of sight, not even a meter away from her. What a coincidence. Young Master Mo, I never thought that we would meet again this soon. Are you going this way? I'm going that way, and we're going in different directions, so we'll say our goodbyes here. Ning smiled as she greeted him and then turned to leave. She entered another path, and after walking several steps, she turned around to see that Mo Chuan was silently following behind her. Seeing her stop, Mo Chuan also stopped. A pair of deep eyes looked at her. Young Master Mo, could it be that you're also going home? Ning decided not to walk. Mo Chuan slightly shook his head, but he did not say anything. Then what are you following me for? His eyes revealed a faint smile. Miss wants my help, so I agreed. What? You agreed to be my bodyguard? Ning's eyes popped out, suspecting that she had heard wrong. For an assassin like him, he had the skills and money, and he also had a proud and noble temperament. How could he agree to be her bodyguard? Unless he needed her help, it would be very troublesome and difficult. It's over. She had really provoked a hot potato that she couldn't get rid of this time. That's right. Mo Chuan nodded. Ning was speechless. She really wanted to say, could she regret it? She didn't want him to be a bodyguard at all. Keeping him by her side was like keeping a bomb that could explode at any moment. Who knew if he was unhappy, he would cut off Chu Xiao Yang's head with a single slash or cut off her head. No, this was too dangerous. Young Master Mo, how about, you consider it again? Ning said in a negotiating tone, I've thought about it before. My suggestion is too rash and disrespectful to you. For a person with such skills like you, how could I let you be my bodyguard? How about this? If you need my help, I'll definitely call for you. As for the favor I asked for, let's just forget about it and pretend I never mentioned it. Okay? No. Mo Chuan shook his head. Why not? Ning was confused. She had already agreed to help him for free. What else did he want? Mo Chuan took a step forward. His figure was tall, and he slightly lowered his head to look at her. His deep dark eyes were filled with a light she couldn't understand. Chapter 197. Ning was speechless once again. She already could not think of a reason to reject him. Seeing his serious appearance, she knew that he was determined to follow her. Young Master Mo, let's talk about this in advance. If you go back with me, you will only be protecting me and not killing people. You can't casually kill people. Ning gritted her teeth and decided to set 3 rules with him. Mo Chuan slightly raised his chin and said with an expressionless face, the price of me killing people is not something you can afford. His voice was filled with arrogance. All right. Although his words were not pleasant to hear, Ning understood his meaning. That was agreement. She let out a sigh of relief before she heard Mo Chuan slowly add, sometimes, I will also kill people for free. Ning almost spat out a mouthful of blood. She stared at him. Did he need to take such a long time to speak? Listening to his words, if he was not pleasing to the eye, would he still kill people without a single word? Let's go. Mo Chuan did not look at her anymore. Go where? Home, he said in a very natural manner. All right, go home, then go home. thinking of an assassin with such deep martial arts being willing to be her bodyguard. Qinning's heart was filled with a little bit of excitement. With him by her side to protect her, she would not have to worry about that cheap man, Chu Xiaoyang, wanting to harm her. She had a smile on her face as she led the date red horse in front. She suddenly found that there was another person beside her. Mo Chuan was walking shoulder to shoulder with her, walking at a moderate pace. I don't like walking behind others. Mo Chuan softly said. All right, then you walk in front. Qining gritted her teeth. She did not want to walk shoulder to shoulder with him at all. This kind of intimate and ambiguous position, and he was a complete stranger to her. I don't know the way, Mo Chuan said. Qining really wanted to ask him, was he doing this on purpose? Helplessly, she could only go around to the other side and hold the horse with her other hand. The date red horse was in between the two of them as she continued forward. She was not used to being too close to strangers because there was a safe distance between people and an intimate distance. If this safe distance was crossed, it would make her feel uncomfortable. This is a good horse. Mo Chuan's eyes looked over and fell onto the date red horse. This was the second time he had praised it. Qining was a little proud as she deliberately asked, Oh, what do you think is good about it? Don't you think it's ugly? Ugly? No, it's not ugly at all. Mo Chuan carefully looked over the date red horse with a serious expression. Look at a horse's bones and not its skin. Its forehead is wide and big, its leg bones are short and thick, and its sternum is deep and long. This is a rare 1,000 li horse. He had always been a man of few words, but when it came to horses, he could not stop talking. It could be seen that he was a man who knew how to judge horses and love them. When Qining heard this, she was pleasantly surprised. She stroked the date red horse's mane. The reason why she chose this purplish red horse was because she saw that the horses in the stable were fat and strong, had glossy fur, and had good food and shelter. Only this purplish red horse was thin and withered, and it didn't need anyone to take care of it. It also ate stale grass, so she couldn't help but feel indignant. She never would have. Bye-bye to of. Bye she. Horse. Oh horse. Can you follow me from now on? She patted the date red horse's head. The date red horse gave a snort, as if it understood her words. Good horses understand human nature. Your horse has already recognized you as its master, so you won't be able to chase it away in the future. Mo Chuan looked at her with a meaningful gaze. He had some doubts in his heart. Such a good horse wasn't something that an ordinary person could own. Where did this girl find such a fine horse? Chapter 198. We're here. In front of us is where I live. Qining brought Mo Chuan through the back door of the king's palace. Then she found that Mo Chuan had suddenly stopped and was looking at the deep courtyard in the twilight. His eyes became deep and unfathomable. This is your home? He seemed to take in a cold breath. It can't be considered my home, but I'm currently living here. Qining nodded and asked why. She had indeed treated this as a temporary place to live and had never treated it as her home. Sooner or later, she would have to leave this place. Isn't this the King Ding Yuan Palace? Mo Chuan's voice was a bit cold. That's right. Qining pursed her lips into a smile. There's a bit of sarcasm in her smile. I never thought that you would recognize this as the King Ding Yuan Palace with a single glance. It seems like Chu Xiaoyang is quite famous in the capital city. Chu Xiaoyang. Who is he to you? Mo Chuan's voice became even colder, and his deep eyes fell on her face. He remembered that there was a maid by her side that called her young miss, but she was living in the King Ding Yuan Palace. Damn, when did the King Ding Yuan Palace have a young miss? Why didn't he know? Chu Xiaoyang. He isn't anyone to me, and I don't have any relationship with him at all. Qining shrugged her shoulders and spoke in an uncaring manner. In her heart, Chu Xiaoyang was indeed a stranger. She was just a wandering soul from the modern era. She had nothing to do with Chu Xiaoyang. Mo Chuan's eyes were tightly locked onto her. After hearing what she said, he suddenly let out a sigh of relief. He could see that she was telling the truth. Then why are you living here? Another question popped up in his mind. The King Ding Yuan Palace was not a place normal people could casually enter. All right, since I'm here, I'll tell you the truth. My current identity is the princess of the King Ding Yuan Palace. After Chen Ning said this, she was prepared to see Mo Chuan's shocked expression. She didn't want to hide it from him, but since he didn't ask, she didn't mention it. Mo Chuan was truly shocked, but there was no expression on his face. Chen Ning only heard him suck in a cold breath. You are the country-protecting Duke's Chun family's young miss. Chen Ning. Mo Chuan looked at her and said word for word. His eyes were very serious. The twilight gradually faded, and Chen Ning found that she couldn't see what his eyes were saying. You even know my name? That's right, I'm Chen Ning. I never thought that Chen Ning, would become a well-known person. This is a happy matter worth celebrating. Chen Ning curled her lips and gave a self-deprecating smile. She knew that after she had caused such a scene in the wedding hall, she would definitely be spread all over the world. She was the one of the capital. Perhaps in the capital city, from the emperor to the beggars, there was no one that did not know that the King Ding Yuan Palace had a legal princess that was uglier than a female yiksha. But she did not care at all. The more people laughed at her, the more face Chu Xiaoyang lost. Mo Chuan suppressed the shock in his heart with great difficulty, but he still looked at her with a bit of disbelief. How could she be the rumored good-for-nothing idiot young miss? In his impression, he had never seen a woman who was more intelligent and pure than her. If she was an idiot, then all the women in the world were idiots. So it was impossible. You aren't Chen Ning, he calmly said. Chen Ning smiled. She tilted her head to look at him and said in a funny voice, Chen Ning isn't a famous person. Is there a need for me to pretend to be her? What benefit is there in pretending to be her? As for whether I am Chen Ning or not, won't you know after entering the palace? Chapter 199. After the guard checked the token, he happily let them in. Mo Chuan's footsteps unknowingly became heavy. His heart was heavy, and he did not even notice that he was several steps behind Chen Ning. She could enter the palace as she pleased. What did this mean? It meant that what she said was true. She was the Ding Yuan princess, Chen Ning. Young Master Mo. Young Master Mo. He was lost in thought. Chen Ning had to call him several times before he came back to his senses. And what's the matter? He slightly looked up with a deep gaze. Young Master Mo, do you have an alias or something else to call me? What do you mean? He knit his brows. Chen Ning said with a faint smile. It's like this. Young Master Mo, you are now my personal guard, so it's not appropriate for me to call you Young Master Mo. If I call you by your full name, it would be disrespectful. As an assassin, Young Master Mo wouldn't want to reveal his real name to others, right? So, I think it would be better to call you by name. This was also reasonable. Of course, Mo Chuan did not want her to call him by his real name. He hesitated for a bit and said, I don't have an alias, so you can call me whatever you want. How can you call me so casually? Chen Ning rolled her eyes and said with a giggle, If you don't mind, how about I help you pick one? All right. He nodded in agreement. Then, how about I call you Xiaohei? I see that you like wearing black clothes and your surname is Mo, so it's quite appropriate. She revealed a smile. Mo Chuan's face instantly turned dark. He was hoping that she would think of a different name for him, but Xiaohei, what kind of ghost was this? Xiaohei, Xiaohei. This name is very easy to say, you don't mind, right? Chen Ning was very satisfied with the name she casually came up with. No, I don't. Mo Chuan's voice was squeezed out from between his teeth, making his teeth ache. Then that's good. I'll call you Xiaohei from now on. Chen Ning smiled like a proud little fox. She couldn't help thinking of Chu Xiao Bai. One of them was black and one was white. They really were a good match. Mo Chuan was too lazy to even say anything. He silently followed Chen Ning to the flowing cloud pavilion. God, Princess Consort, you're still alive. Princess Consort, this servant isn't seeing things, right? Is it really you? When Chen Ning appeared at the flowing cloud pavilion's door, Chun Tao and Xia Tao charged out at the same time. The two of them had teary eyes, and when they saw Chen Ning, Their eyes almost fell out. Princess consort, this servant heard that when you went out to ride a horse, something happened to you. We couldn't find you alive or dead, so this servant was scared out of her wits. I never thought that the princess consort would come back safe and sound. I really thank the heavens for the blessing of the heavens. Chuntao wiped her tears and looked at Chen Ning without blinking. Her face was filled with joy. Xiaohe was also very excited. The two of them kept asking Chen Ning questions. After hearing the news from the horse farm, she and Chuntao were both scared out of their wits. The two of them cried for an entire afternoon. If something really happened to the princess consort, they would not have a tree to shelter them from the wind and rain. They would not have a place in the king's palace in the future. Adding in the fact that the two of them had been with Chen Ning for a long time, their feelings for Chen Ning became deeper day by day. The two of them felt sad for Chen Ning. All right, don't cry. Aren't I back in one piece now? Chen Ning patted the shoulders of the two maids to comfort them. She could see that these two maids were truly devoted to her. Where's Xiaoru? Why don't I see her? Chapter 200. Reporting to the princess consort, little sister Xiaoru has been at the horse track the entire time. She said that she had to wait for you to come back, otherwise she wouldn't leave even if she died. Xiaohe said. Chen Ning's heart filled with warmth as she muttered, this silly girl. Xiaohe, go to the horse track and find Xiaoru. Tell her that I'm fine and that she doesn't need to worry. Yes, princess consort. Xiaohe replied. When she was prepared to leave, she suddenly saw Mo Chuan in the shadows and was shocked. Where did this man come from? Who are you? She pointed at Mo Chuan and screamed out. Mo Chuan did not say a word and did not even look at her. His body released a cold aura that no one could approach. Xiaohe felt a chill run down her body and swallowed the curses she wanted to say back into her stomach. This man was too terrifying. Chuntao, Xiaohe, he is my benefactor. He is the one who saved me. His martial arts are very good, so I asked him to be my personal bodyguard. You can call him Bodyguard He. Bodyguard He will live in the flowing cloud pavilion from now on, so you two have to be respectful to Bodyguard He. You're not allowed to be rude at all. Do you understand? Chen Ning looked at the two maids with a serious expression and spoke in a deep voice. She did not want these two maids to offend Mo Chuan for no reason, otherwise they wouldn't even know how they died. Yes, princess consort. This servant understands. Chuntao and Xiaohe replied in unison. The two of them secretly looked over at Mo Chuan at the same time. Seeing that he did not even look at them, they thought in their hearts, was he just a bodyguard? Even if he saved the princess consort, it wasn't anything special. What was there to be proud of? Chuntao, go and arrange a place for Bodyguard He to live in. He can live in the room next to mine. Chen Ning thought about it and felt that it was safer for Mo Chuan to live closer to her. The lips of the two maids couldn't help twitching as they looked at each other in blank dismay. Why aren't you going yet? Chen Ning looked up. Princess consort, this servant has something that I don't know if I should say or not. Chuntao gathered her courage and carefully looked at Chen Ning. If it was before, she would not have dared to say it. But after being with Chen Ning for a while, she knew that Chen Ning was a reasonable person, so she gathered her courage. Say it. Chuntao sneaked a peek at Mo Chuan and was immediately frozen by that cold aura. She quickly turned her head. Chuntao's princess consort has a noble status. If a bodyguard lives in the princess consort's courtyard, this servant would be worried. She tactfully said, the princess consort has a noble status, and if a guard is placed in the princess consort's courtyard, this servant is worried that his highness might mind. She tactfully said. What she was thinking in her heart was that the princess consort was too bold, not putting his highness in her eyes at all. She had openly brought a male guard into the palace, and even let him live in the room next to hers. Wasn't this just giving his highness a hard time? She didn't know what to do. Even if his highness did not like the princess consort, he would not be happy to see his legal wife living in the same courtyard as a male guard. Not to mention the fact that they all liked Chen Ning, secretly hoping that His Highness would change his mind and live in harmony with the princess consort. After all, His Highness was the princess consort's eternal home. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.